The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Scott Norton, and you're listening to Keepin' It Strong Style.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keeping It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out in Barrio the Frogs. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the Ace of Podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith and Chris Samsa. On today's show, we'll preview G1 Climax 35 and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. All the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. Check out our Chop Tea store, chop-tees.com/KI Strong Style. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style merchandise. There's free shipping on every order and 10% off your first order. chop-tees.com/KI Strong Style. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live right now on patreon.com/KI Strong Style for IWGP subscribers. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, you can sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Chris, are you there? Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, this
We're
is
doing it.
Perfect and fortuitous timing.
We made it to G1 season, baby.
I was just going to say real quick, I had the mute on for all of you new subscribers to the Patreon. We see you guys. Thank you for joining, and a lot of good things in store. But yeah, we're glad to have you here, Chris.
I'm happy to be here. Happy to see you guys as always, as you recover from a trip to Texas, right?
Yeah.
Trip from hell.
Well, I thought you all had a good time at Y'all In.
Yeah, it was a great weekend. We'll tell you some stories off the air.
Oh no! I ran late and missed the stories.
Good trip.
We're
all doing well. We're here.
That's all we got.
But
all right.
Sorry
for bringing it up.
Speaking of All In, no, it was a fun time, and shout out to all the listeners that we met this weekend at the show, and all of our Social Suplex family, Tall Talk girls, and Trish and Sarah. So cool to hang with them in person. And of course, we were there and saw Omega Okada 5. And so I figured we just talk about that real quick. Got a couple questions here. That dude named Menace says your thoughts on Omega versus Okada at All In. And Death Triangle 720 says, the Kiss Boys, if you watch the Omega Okada 5, did you expect the quality they'd done 7 years ago? Or did you expect what they did by doing something different in their current form?
Well, I mean, I walked out of the show after that match was over, so I still haven't seen Moxley and I haven't seen Mox and Hangman at all, so that might tell you a little something. Yes, I did anticipate them having a match near this. I didn't think it would be exactly the same level of quality per se as their other matches, but considering even though they both aged and time has passed, those guys have had an incredible chemistry their entire careers, and they've both had phenomenal blow-away matches with other opponents just this year alone, a multitude of them, in fact. So even with some of the like hankering injuries and time passing, I just figured like it's going to be like these guys riding a bike. Like it's not going to be anything crazy. That's not to say that the match wasn't great. I'm sure for a lot of people it was. I think the match was very, very good. but considering the lofty levels that we've seen from them, I didn't think it lived up to those. I thought it was a diminishing returns sort of situation. I have seen some of the clips at home, and those seem to come off a little better than maybe it was for me live in the audience. So, that maybe I'm being a little nitpicky here. The other thing too, I hated all of the Western style run-ins. I hated Kenny's over exaggerated selling, so much so that it led me to believe that maybe he was doing a HBK SummerSlam 05 situation where like he was hamming it up because he knew he was not going over and he just wasn't invested. Like that's how bad I thought the facials were, even for zany seller Kenny Omega. And then I hated the finish. Not that I didn't think that Okada was going to go over. I did. But when you put it in totality, you look at the lack of great build, the way they hoed Kenny in the build, then the quality of the match itself, and then all the shenanigans, and then the finish just kind of happening abruptly and everybody just being stunned in the building. To me, it's just it didn't sit right with me. I don't know. It's hard for me to kind of stomach it, honestly. I think I'm in the minority here. I think most people really enjoyed the match and for what it was and are looking forward to more matches from them. But to me, it's kind of leave the memories alone, because I just can't imagine in 2025 that there would ever be a show where Omega Okada is the fourth best match on that card.
Chris, did you get a chance to watch the match?
Oh yeah, I watched. I watched from home, so I guess a little bit of a different experience. But I said to someone or a group of other people, I said that all that match did was prove that anyone who's ever complained about the Stars scale breaking because of their previous, I guess, 4 matches, the New Japan series, there's no complaint. There's no complaint necessary. Like, I saw a bunch of people throwing 4.5 stars at that match, and I was like, yeah, so the Dominion match in 2018 was a 7-star match. Like, if you think that's 4.5, then the Dominion was 7. Like, it's a whole different league. And I kind of get I get what happened, right? They're trying to restart the story, I guess, or like dip their toe into a story that is
their own.
Yeah, and you cannot replicate everything that went into the Okada Omega series in 2016 to 2018, I guess. Like, you just can't. You can't replicate it, and you can't. I'm with you. I wish they would have just not done it, or just do it as the same way they did Danielson Omega. Just put it on a big show. No story. It didn't need it. It didn't need Kenny's B movie blood coming out of his mouth, right?
I hated that.
It didn't need any of that. So, and the video packages that AEW produced to tell people about the matches from New Japan were incredible. I think there were 2 separate video packages that were just, and like, they had me, with my finger right over the buy tickets to go to Texas. and then the B movie blood happened, and I was like, never mind. They're just gonna, and then Don Callis and all that, and I was like, they're just. It was pretty clear to me where they were headed, and they did exactly what I thought they were gonna do, and that's fine. That's fine, and I hope people really liked it. I hope people enjoyed it, and I hope the building looked, and you guys can obviously speak to this more than me, but the building looked excited. The bell pop was great. It felt big. It felt huge. I would have enjoyed being there. I have no doubt about that. But I stand by it. You cannot. It's not worth it. It's like when a Hall of Fame baseball player comes out of retirement and like wants to keep playing and or like takes on a manager job and just fails miserably. It's like there was nothing left to do with this story except that AEW loves to rehash stuff that happened in New Japan in 2018. And it was a super successful promotion. I think that's great. So yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that match. I think the match was fine. I think it was good for that matter, but it had impossible expectations. especially when you're not going to get an hour. Because the two best of the, they got an hour. They got 75 minutes.
I disagree. The best one went 45 minutes, Chris.
Well, I love the G1 match, so I think the best one went about 22. So maybe not the best one, but I think it was the most interesting. But that's a whole nother story, right? And I'm a mark for the G1. Hi, welcome. I'm glad I'm here. But like, yeah, I thought that it was exactly what anyone could have expected. I think most of that show was. As I think back about the All In card as a whole, I think most of that show was exactly what people should have expected from it. If you don't like run-ins, Josh, you're gonna hate the main event because it's a parade. But it's a fun parade.
I think that they have their time and place. I mean, like I enjoyed the Cody Roman Reigns match. I've seen people compare this to that. So
then you'll like it, yeah.
But
so
do I think that like do I think that those matches from New Japan back in the day, like they suffered because we didn't have more run-ins from the Young Bucks and from Don Callis and from God knows who else? Like no, like they didn't need that.
Yeah, and I'm kind of similar opinions. I did in a vacuum. I enjoyed the match, and I am happy that we made the trip, and I can say that I saw those guys wrestle live, and I think from like a technique standpoint, I feel like a lot of what they did in the ring was great. I do think that they did not hit that next gear that we see them normally hitting or similar gear we saw in the Swerve versus Young Bucks match, where there's a certain point where they just like turned it up and it was boom, bam, 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 crazy high spots, and we just didn't get that. This match reminded me a lot of Okada Tanahashi from the G1 Dallas 2019, where there's a long history of these incredible 5-star matches. First time in the US, they go out there, and as New Japan fans, were excited to see this match live, and they go out there and they have the match, and that was a great match too, but it did not hit the level of their previous matches. But they went out there, played the hits. You got your Rainmaker reversals. Tanahashi did high fly flow to the floor and all that stuff, and Okada won. And you got that kind of, you got that moment to see that match. And I felt very similar to this match where they came out here. We got tons of V-triggers. We got Rainmakers. We even got a call back to the Dragon Suplex spot, much safer this time from the Wrestle Kingdom match. So they did a lot of the big spots. There were some great counters out of the One Wing Angel and Rainmaker. So I think there were some great pieces there. But then, yeah, they never, got that. We didn't even get like a fighting spirit kick out at one moment. Like there wasn't that thing that really kind of put it over the edge. And then, yeah, you had Rocky coming out and Don Callis, and I don't get why this match wasn't under Continental rules when the Continental title was
makes no sense
on the line, and now going forward.
But was it? It's the unified title. But right. The unified title is Continental rules now.
Right.
It makes no sense.
And words have meanings, everybody. Like
I will say one thing, Jeremy. I agree with parts of your analogy, but here's where it differs. Yes, Tanahashi Okada for the first time on US soil was not quite up to the same like working standard that those guys have had. That was the first real we're just going to play the hits match that they did about 3 more times after that. But the atmosphere is one of the greatest match atmospheres I have ever been a part of live, because that audience, even in they were probably only a quarter full in that building. They were so appreciative and happy to see that match that we were on our feet. Like the standing ovation that happened in Dallas this past weekend was like we're going to get ourselves over, so we're going to chant holy shit because we know it's the time to do that. But when Tanahashi and Okada were apart from each other, like I almost got like teary-eyed because the people were so appreciative, and it just kept going and going, and then like it was fervor. And they were like that the whole match. Like the atmosphere was like living and breathing, and it was like, this is an audience that appreciates what they're seeing with Tanahashi and Okada because it means so much to them. I'm not trying to shit on the AEW crowd. I think this is just a match that happened before them. The majority of that crowd, I don't think saw these matches. They've heard about them. I'm sure there was a lot of people that did see them, maybe, but I don't think that there's that many people that were watching them live when it happened. I think a lot of those people saw it in post, based on the reputation. And it was, of all the big matches that happened, the least. I mean, Kenny got one of the biggest pops, but the actual match itself did not have the kind of reactions that you would think, because it just did not have an invested crowd, because this was not for them. And it was kind of depressing being in an atmosphere like that, where it's like, yeah, this match deserved to finally have this stage, and it's the wrong audience because they don't appreciate it, unfortunately. And I think some of that falls on AEW and Tony Khan. I don't think they did a good job promoting it in the proper way to like really invest people. And I mean, there's no denying it didn't have the build that Tony and Mercedes had, or that Hangman and Mox had, or even what they did throwing together Bucks and Swerve and Ospreay had more significance and meaning and investment from the audience. Like they didn't do a good job with this one.
Yeah. And I think, also we point out, Kenny's selling. I get his whole, psychology of the diverticulitis and wanting to sell his stomach the whole match, but like it's starting to get a little bit old for me now. Like every match is like targeting the midsection, and like we mentioned, the whole crazy blood angle. Which overall, I guess the angle was good, but then just I don't know. I'm kind of over Kenny selling the midsection now.
I don't even have much more to say about it. I will say this, like up to that match, I was like, damn, this is such a good show. I should probably start watching some more AEW. Look how stacked this roster is. And then that match happened. I was like, fuck this, bro. Like, fuck this. I'm not going to sit here and watch Hangman's crowning achievement after what they just did. Like, look what they massacred my boy, bro. Like, no.
Oh, man. So, yeah. So that's our thoughts on Okada Omega 5 from All In. One piece of news item we got to touch on before we get into the G1 preview. Hiroki Goto. So Fightful this past weekend reported that Goto has been cast as E Honda in the new Street Fighter movie that's going to be released in 2026. So Goto is going to be joining a cast that reportedly has Cody Rhodes as Guile and Roman Reigns as Akuma. Then another story broke from Fightful Select, where essentially sources close to them are saying that Goto is banged up, but the injury is believed to be a work and kind of giving him time to do the Street Fighter movie. And then they have sources in Japan that are noting that Goto could potentially be finishing up with the company, and that his status beyond Dominion was not guaranteed. And the New Japan was aware of his free agency heading into the title match and planned accordingly. So also switching the belt back to Zack, and they went with the whole elbow injury to write him off. And Talon has spoken to Goto, said that they believe he's a free agent and open to exploring options in both Japan and the U.S. And as of now, there's no official word from New Japan or Goto regarding his next step. So, guys, some first crazy news that Goto's going to be playing E Honda, and then follow that up with the elbow injury is a work, and he could potentially not even be back. What do you guys think about this news that came out?
I have a personal policy not to discuss Fightful's reporting about New Japan.
Okay. I'll say this as a Street Fighter fan, I just don't think that this adaptation sounds like it's gonna, as both a Street Fighter fan and a cinephile, does not sound like a good movie. Maybe it'll be fun. I don't know. Hopefully it's better than the last Mortal Kombat or the last couple Mortal Kombats, but I don't know, man. Goto as E Honda, it's like he's either going to need to get really fat, or he's going to need to put on like a fat suit and be CGI'd, or he's going to be a completely unfaithful, I don't know, like he won't be a sumo wrestler. He'll be like a pro wrestler named E Honda who does, the hand move, but that's about it. That none of that sounds really too appealing to me. But, we did not firsthand, but we talked to individuals within our network that basically did corroborate a lot of this report. Now, I don't think that we have any sort of confirmation that he is in fact unsigned or like a free agent. I never heard that this weekend or this past week, but we did hear that he was always planned to drop the title at the TV special at Tanahashi Jam. That is a real thing. And then that potentially because of this upcoming engagement with the Street Fighter movie, that the injury was a work, and that the whole angle to get Taichi into the G1 was always planned, essentially. And so it was almost like basically a case of false advertising and then bait and switch, essentially. However, there was some word about like, and I guess we'll talk about it later, but the whole Tanahashi situation, people are very concerned about his status for the G1. Once it became apparent that like Goto wasn't going to make it for the tournament, it became like a situation where it's like, well, we only have so many stars remaining in this company that we can really rely on for this tour and this tournament, which is one of the most financially important for the company moving forward. I don't know. It does make me as like a fan, because I understand we do this podcast. We're supposed to be like super connected, but we don't always know everything that's going on. And it's like, they tell me there's an arm injury, and then apparently like there's not really a real actual arm injury. He's going off to do a movie. I don't fucking like that shit. Don't work me, bro. But maybe the old work's the new work. I don't know.
He's hurt.
Yeah, I mean that's what
he's
they're
hurt.
saying.
Like I don't know. I don't know that he's missed the G1 hurt, but he's hurt.
Yeah, he's banged up.
That I am sure.
Yeah, people are saying he is banged up, but like if you're everybody's hurt all the time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if it's like, yeah, he's hurt, he needs, he's taking some time away, but he's really going to do a movie and he can't, you're making it sound like he's so hurt he can't work. And I'm not advocating that guy should work with
that movie's not filming yet.
Is it not? Because that's what they're making it sound like. No,
that movie's not filming. They're at least not doing any primary footage yet. So like it's not like Goto's flying to wherever they're filming to film right now. Like that's
what everybody is making it sound like and has basically said essentially.
I know. There's somebody close to me is a film industry reporter. And so I asked him if that film is filming yet, and he said no. So so that's the information I have about this. That may be wrong, I guess, if this is all happening in the shadow of the night, but that's not really how movies work. Like,
I mean, if they're usually just casting right now and the G1's starting in a couple of weeks, that wouldn't make a lot of sense now that you say it.
Exactly. So, and people think Roman's coming back to WWE and Cody's still around doing whatever. So like all those dudes are still around, but Goto has to be gone. Like that doesn't add up. So I don't think the movie's the reason he's missing the G1.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stories out there, a lot of stuff to kind of, figure out what's going on here. But, if he does and, eventually potentially leaves in the future, I think that's going to kind of stink. But also we don't have, full on news on that yet. So it's just kind of speculation and hearsay and, dark Twitter rumors right now. But I guess we'll cover that more as more stuff comes out.
I mean, the only thing I'll say is 90% of that roster is working without like a concrete contract.
Right.
Yeah.
And that includes Japanese domestic wrestlers. So,
what's one thing that's interesting?
It's another non-news item, honestly, if you ask me.
Danny and Michael Filippo, who are the brothers that did Talk to Me and Bring Her Back, they were the original directors slotted to do this project apparently, and they backed out, which is kind of interesting because there's so many pro wrestlers involved with this. And I don't know if you guys know, but those two guys, they're doing it's coming out this coming up year, but their third project is a death match. Dan Coffin, the Gene rated PG stands for Goto. They're doing a project. It's a documentary on deathmatch wrestling, and apparently like they're huge, big time, like indie Australia, like independent wrestling fans, and they like follow all the deathmatch wrestling, and they're doing a whole documentary on it, which should be pretty crazy in those guys' hands. So kind of funny.
Yeah. So we'll keep you guys posted on what we hear and updates that come out on the whole Goto situation. But
Bro, I don't think Hantai can handle losing another leader in like less than a year, you know?
I mean, it's time for Umino to shine, right?
It will never be time for Umino to shine.
I'm a big fan of people who don't want to be there leaving.
Yeah, true.
And I know a lot of it's money, but when you hate your job, you should leave your job. And if they don't like it there, they should go and go do whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that in the US. There's nothing wrong with that in Japan. Like, it's fine. Like, it's obviously it's not ideal for, you know, people with loyalty to New Japan, right? To think like, oh God, we just had this cool run with Goto and now he's gonna leave. But also, like, that was it. That was it. That was the cool thing that Goto was gonna do in this era. He was gonna get the surprise win and have a neat little title run, and I loved it. You know, I'm sure I've talked about it on this show. I loved it. Then the title match when he won the title was one of the best matches I've seen because it had emotion and it brought out a lot of, you know, feelings about moving on from generations, but also like holding on to what you used to have. And the title match where he lost it was also incredible, even though I had, you know, I had feelings about when they did it and the fact that I couldn't see it live and all that. But you know, even grumpy watching that match, and when I watched the match earlier today when it went up on New Japan World, when I watched that match, I
saw it just today too.
Yeah.
Just today we watched that match.
The review that we did earlier was just literally taken.
It was on a written report.
It was AI basically. I just asked AI what happened.
It was from Fumi.
I asked Grok, you know, what happened at Tanahashi Jam.
You asked Grok? I asked ChatGPT. I was like, hey, what happened in this match? I don't even know if they got it right. I just read it. So, you know,
and it was great.
Yeah.
I go and he probably would have had a neat little G1 run, but I think there's enough G1 stuff to carry. It's going to be an interesting tournament. We're going to talk about it, but yeah, that's my feeling. I mean, people get real emotional about people leaving promotions and stuff, especially when it's New Japan. Especially when it's someone from the, you know, I guess we could dub the golden era, you know, the 2013 to 2018, 2020, 2019, whatever you want to, however you want to end it. But I don't know, guys come and go. That's okay.
Why would anybody take wrestling seriously? I mean, how are you going to get in your feels about pro wrestling? Says the guy that stormed out after the summer. And 25,000 people just sat seated. I thought other people were going to leave with me. I was starting a revolution. Like, let's go, guys. This is it.
Oh man.
Well,
let's jump into the G1 Climax 35 preview. So the tournament's going to commence on July 19th and conclude on August 17th. This year's tournament will feature 20 wrestlers divided into 2 blocks of 10 A and B. Each participant will face all 9 other wrestlers with the same block in singles matches. The winner of each block will be determined via a point system with 2 points for a win, 1 point for a draw, and no points for a defeat. On the final 3 days of the event, the top 3 wrestlers in each block will advance and will enter into a 6-man playoff, with the block winners earning a bye into the semifinals to determine the winner of the tournament, which will receive a future match for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So on August 14th, it will be the B2 versus A3, and the winner of that will face the A1 block winner on August 16th, and then on that same night, the A2 will face the B3, and the winner will face the B1 B block player winner on August 16th. And of course, Chris has his great Sport Pro Wrestling contest. Chris, go ahead and plug the contest right now. Tell the people all about it and all the great prizes involved.
Yeah. So if you go to g1.sportofprowrestling.com, you will be met with the 2025, the G135 Sport of Pro Wrestling contest. It is just about the most beautiful gambling, betting, pick'em website anyone's ever made. Shout out to Jeremy Sexton my brother in technology at Sport of Pro Wrestling. He's made my life incredibly so much easier. Both for my quote unquote day to day with New Japan and the stats and info that I pump out, but also when we do stuff like this. So, basically you pick through the G1, you pick all 90 matches, and then you pick the tournament, and we have points assigned for each kind of stage of the tournament. And as you go through that, you're going to see if you've got the mind of the bookers, right? Last year we had 735 entrants into this contest. This year we already have 220 brackets started. We've been live for about 24 hours. So obviously we have a lot less time with it active this year. So we're kind of doing the hard push for the full week before the G1 starts on Saturday morning US time. But yeah, if it's a really neat website. It's really incredible as you do your picks, the blocks reorganize so that they are in the correct order, so you kind of know where you're headed on or if you go and fill out the final night and you kind of want to work your way back to that. It also has all of the known G1 tiebreakers are built into that. So you could book this tournament where, 6 or 7 people have the same number of points, and it's going to run through the different stages of tiebreakers that they've used historically.
I think that's bullshit.
Why?
You want them to do the math on a piece of grid paper themselves.
I mean, you're welcome to do whatever you like and come back and re-enter it. But, this is the same system that I use now to figure out eliminations and things like that as the tournament's going on. So it's really neat. It's really well put together. It's fun. It's easy to do on mobile. It's easy to do on a computer. And then, every day there's G1 matches during the tournament. We'll be updating the leaderboard. So, we've got, like I said, we've got over 200 brackets started right now. I'm hopeful that we get close to what we did last year, just because it's a really neat thing for the community and it's a really neat thing for people to get involved. And we have some really neat prizes this year. So this year, the grand prize is a bundle of New Japan centric Patreon subscriptions, including Keeping It Strong Style right here. So I think it's 3 months of Keeping It Strong Style Patreon. So you'd have access to the video stream that we're doing right now. You'd have access to Josh's really great Tanahashi series, which is really just incredible stuff that Josh is putting together, as well as any other bonus audio that Keeping It Strong Style does. And then you'd also get access to 3 months of the $10 tier of the Voices of Wrestling flagship Patreon. So Joe and Rich over there, and they do a ton of audio, just a ton of stuff, and a lot of that's New Japan centric, as well as 3 months to the Super J-Cast. So you'd have access to the deli, so you can get yourself a sandwich. And by sandwich, I mean some scoops from Joel and Damon over there, as well as whatever bonus audio they're pumping out. And then a very generous year of WeWork Stiff Club. And they've got a really great Discord over there, and they do some really neat stuff too. So sort of my way of highlighting my pals around the industry, and that's the grand prize. The grand prize is you get a bunch of different New Japan voices and really their special stuff. So it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be neat. It's gonna be a really fun contest again. So I hope everyone goes to g1.sportofprowrestling.com and at least poke around, see what's going on, play around with the brackets. Once the tournament's live, we're going to try to make what we call the scenario builder available for everyone, so that y'all can figure out who you actually want to win as the tournament goes on, and also so I can maybe sleep in a couple days and I don't have to answer questions about who's eliminated on social media. So, but yeah, check it out, g1.sportofprowrestling.com. We're super proud of it. It is really an incredible piece of web work from Jeremy Sexton that I'm honored to host at Sport of Pro Wrestling.
Yeah, I will second that. The site is incredible. I hopped on it yesterday when I saw your tweet about the contest going live, and yeah, the layout is and usability is great, and yeah, just the game changer of the blocks, updating as you're making the picks, and it's so easy. It's so fun to use. I tweeted out, I've changed my pick 10 times yesterday, and then this afternoon I was like, again, I changed it like 5 more times before we started recording, because I'm like, no, I want the points to look this way, I want this guy to advance this way, and like you mentioned, like the tiebreakers, like I have a couple guys at 10 points, lined up with my tiebreakers, get the third place guy in, the fourth place guy out. It's a really fun experience. I love it. So really, great job, you and Jeremy Sexton.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean that legitimately, that's why I want to make the scenario builder like active once the tournament goes live, because we'll be loading in the results, and then y'all people can then log in and just check out the scenario builder for like what they think will happen for the rest of the tournament. Honestly, just because it's fun. Like it's like people do, like simulation promotions and stuff, or simulation. Yeah. Like it's sort of like a miniature version of that, but like super slick. So like, and I just like playing with the scenario builder as the tournament goes on, because I'm like, wait, what's possible here? And the neat thing about the where are words? What are words? The neat thing about the contest is like you said, like you can start your bracket now and like go back in and change it over the course of this week as you start to have feelings about it. So, or if you think like, oh man, as you're listening to us talk, you're like, oh shoot, I do think that guy's going to get into the playoffs. Like maybe I do want to work that out. Like you don't have to lock in your picks. Your picks aren't locked in until the first card starts. So, and I think that's kind of a neat feature too. So like you can go in and get your stuff all squared away, but then you can go back and blow it up if you want.
Yeah, I will legit probably be changing my bracket all week long until Saturday morning comes and I'm forced to be locked in with whatever I have.
I haven't gotten a really chance to jump in just yet, but I've heard a lot of really complimentary things. I think that it sounds like you guys have done a fantastic job, and that was a hell of a pitch, Chris. One thing that I heard a compliment about that you guys hadn't mentioned, and I haven't seen it myself, but somone mentioned that there were stats involved as well, like when you're making the picks. So that was something else.
As you go through each match, there's a little drop down for stats and info, and you can see everyone's G1 history, all the normal stats that I usually pull for G1 history, year to date, and head to head against that particular person in that particular match. It's so fun.
And see, I haven't even laid eyes on it, but we've gotten compliments, like just around the block. People are liking that feature. So it kind of precedes you as well. So that's fantastic work, and we're glad to be part of the package of prizes. And I don't know how they can use their free 3 months. Maybe if they're smart, they wait till like the end of the year. They can get the full Tanahashi series. I don't know, but
I was gonna say, I think there's probably an option for y'all to spread that out if you want to. But I hope that everyone gets good enjoyment out of it.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into previewing these blocks. So like usual, we'll go through A block and B block. We'll go competitor by competitor, give some stats and thoughts, and think, we'll preview and predict if we think these guys are going to go into the playoffs and the finals or not. And just go from there. So we'll start in the A block with the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi, his 23rd entry, first in 2 years. He was the 2007, 2015, and 2018 winner, and like Josh mentioned earlier, there's a lot of concerns. Can the ace actually survive this G1? How are you guys feeling about the ace going into the tournament this year?
I'm not feeling great about the ace going into the tournament. Both from a win-loss perspective as well as a survival perspective. I mean, Tanahashi this year, he will almost definitely wrestle more singles matches in 2025 than he ever has in a single calendar year in his career.
Crazy.
Maybe the young lion, one of the youngish young lion years, one of his super early years, he was well into the 30s for singles matches. But I think after the G1, he's going to be at 30 plus already for singles matches. If he gets through all 9, I assume he's not doing more than 9 in the G1. So that to me feels that it feels. I have a lot of thoughts about the Tanahashi retirement parade tour. It's been a lot. There's been some neat stuff. There's been some stuff that I find to be completely unnecessary. But yeah, I'm not feeling great about Tanahashi's prospects in the G1. And we've got 5 main events. 5 Hiroshi Tanahashi main events in 2025. So it's going to be tough.
Immortality 777 says the G in Tanahashi's G1 stands for get some ice packs and icy hot on my body after every match. I just got to stretch him out after every match to save his knees from walking to the back. Oh man.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Tanahashi match statistics, and you're right, Chris. In 2000, he had 66 singles matches. That's by far the most ever. But that's a young lion year. You kind of just throw that one out. But
his highest beyond that, I think his highest was 30 something, right?
He's got 1 year at 32, and that's in 2006. And then he's got another year where he did 30 plus. Looks like one of these years, but that's about it. Yeah. He's already at 20 right now.
Right. Plus all this other stuff he's doing in other promotions.
Right.
Because I'm just looking at New Japan.
So if we know he's going to do 9 matches in this block minimum, and then another singles match at I think DDT plus, that's just 10 matches right there. Well, we don't know what he's doing there, but you'd imagine that's like another 11. So you're looking at 31 calendar year singles matches, not to mention all the other, tag matches, everything else he's doing on these tours. It's fucking crazy, bro.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah, he did 39 matches in 2004 and 32 in 2006. Those are his 2 highest
he could reasonably get to 39.
Yeah, I was gonna say he could come close to 40.
Yeah, he could.
If his body holds up.
And that feels like a mistake. Mm-hmm. Also, it takes a little bit of the aura out of it.
Yeah,
I get it. You're trying to sell some tickets to, all of these shows, but are you excited? I mean, I guess we don't know what he's doing for his retirement match, but it is taking a little bit of the fun out of that being super duper special. Right. So I'm curious what we know or what we find out as the G1 goes on and post G1. But physically, I don't know. I'm not worried about the, whatever, 3rd or 4th match on the card, Tanahashi. I'm worried about Tanahashi trying to produce 5 G1 main events.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah, we have a couple questions kind of leading into that. Dev88 in Discord says, how will Tana survive? And Stay With The Guy says, is Tana going to be able to make it through without injury? Really worried he's not going to be able to take it easy with 5 main events. And so, yeah, that's going to be, and Tanahashi, if he's in a main event, he's going to want to try to go all out. We saw him hit the high fly flow to the floor in the Gabe Kidd match. He's probably going to try and do some of that. He's going to try and do some of his, big time reversals, and he's going to feel a pressure to want to go out there and perform. And I don't know if he's going to be able to give that main event level performance. And I don't expect him to, go into the playoff rounds. I know that some people really want to see that, and I see, a lot of screenshots of people, booking their G1 to have him going far, and obviously, in a perfect world where his body is still, perfect and he can go, it'd be cool for him to get one last, G1 playoff, one last G1 finals, but I just don't see his body getting there. And I think that the real question is, is he even going to get any wins? Is he going to go the Yuji Nagata route and, lose everything in his last G1? Or is he going to get 1 or 2? Or is he, going to go 4 and 5, 5 and 4, like he has been doing the last several years?
For some of you guys that are listening, you might be newer fans. And by newer, I just mean, maybe you weren't watching 11 years ago, but this is kind of an example of life imitating art, because about 11 years ago, the rumblings were you were starting to hear all the pundits be like, this guy can't keep doing G1s. He's falling apart. His biceps are breaking. His back is breaking. His knees, his neck, everything. And year over year, and some of that was true at the time still, but he was still able to show up every year, do the G1 and pump him out, even though he wasn't really supposed to. And now here we are. He hasn't done a G1 in 2 years, and it's his retirement year, and he's like determined to do it come hell or high water. And it's like they're kind of ignoring the fact that his body, like, it's been a storyline in the past, and now it's not a storyline. They're ignoring the fact that he really is falling apart, and they're trying to like put a Band-Aid on the whole thing, and it's fucking weird.
Man, I didn't even think about that. Every year there's a Tanahashi's knee, Tanahashi's arm, Tanahashi's shoulder.
Right.
Something's busted headed into the G1.
And it's always been true, but it's always been exaggerated all the same for the drama. And now they're like, he's good.
He's perfectly
and
fine.
You're looking at him and you're like,
he's
not.
So it's kind of crazy.
It bumps me out, but I also like, I love him for it. But I also, I'm not sure.
Here's the other thing about all of this. There's only 3 ways to book a competent Tanahashi's final G1, period. And if they do anything other than these 3 things, they have failed as bookers. He either needs to go, actually, I'll change that. I'll do 4. The first 2 involve him basically either losing every single match or losing every single match, but one really meaningful victory, and that's it. And that's how a lot of the classic dads' final G1s have played out in the past. Or he has to either go, like, if he's not going to lose almost all of them, then he needs to win basically almost all of them, and he needs to go into the semis and maybe finals. And who the fuck knows? Maybe win it. And I'm not claiming that should happen, but I'm saying those are the only 2 really there. It's feast or famine with Tanahashi in his final G1. You cannot have this guy go like, say, 4-5. That just won't cut it. Like, he can't be a guy that almost makes the semis and that's it. He either needs to lose everything or he needs to almost basically win everything and be in meaningful spots. And the fact that they got him in 5 main events does worry me, that they might expect him to like not only do these 9 matches, but also do some semifinal matches or maybe even make it to the finals, which is like, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that the 2018 Tanahashi final in the G1 is like one of my comfort food New Japan matches where I just like need something great to put on.
Yeah, that match is incredible.
Mm-hmm. It's like the best.
That was it though. I mean, the from the 19 G1 on, he's been fine and he's had some cool moments, but he picked his moments. You can't pick your moments on your last G1 with 5 main events. So I'm concerned with where it's headed. I love the idea of him going 1-8, with the 1 being his last match of the block is against Evil. So it would be incredible for him to go 1-8, and the 1 win is actually the last match of the block, and it eliminates Evil out of the playoff situation. I think that's good storytelling. It would bother me and my milestone loving brain because he needs 3 wins to get to 100 G1 tournament match wins in his career. And I would really love.
So if he finishes with 98, you're going to be pissed.
I'll be bummed, because no one's ever going to get close to that ever again. Like, that feels obvious to me that, for as long as the G1 goes on, like, it's,
I was going to say, you never know. Okada might come back. You don't know.
Okada would need 4 or 5 years of really great G1 performance to get there. So that's a me problem. I understand that's a very unique Chris Samsa problem, but I would love it if he went 3-6. That would be great for me. With the last win coming over Evil. And honestly, that sounds about, if it weren't his last G1, I would imagine that would be about where he's landing. Because he is an under 500 G1 guy now, so I am curious. There's so much to talk about with Tanahashi, but none of it's going to be the match quality. I don't think. I'm excited for, and we'll talk about it later, I'm sure. So I won't go too far, but I am excited for Tanahashi Taichi.
All right, Josh, do you have a Tanahashi match you're looking forward to? Nope, I guess not.
I just don't know if I've even like really dug into the blocks like I really should have. I mean, like the A block, I probably would have been looking most forward to him and Goto, and now that's not happening. So maybe like him and Taichi. But I'm not really sure. I'm just honestly, I think the biggest concern is like his body and his health at this point. And it's like, I plan to go to the dome. Will he be at the fucking dome? Like, I don't know. I don't think any of us know right now.
He's got to be. It blew my mind that Tanahashi and David Finlay have never had a singles match. So I'm curious what that looks like. Because I was like, they've just been in the same orbit forever. You just figure one of the tournaments they would have crossed paths, but they never have. Yeah,
that's an interesting first time matchup there. I'm looking forward to him versus Tsuji, just because Tsuji was his main young lion, and just kind of the relationship and history there. I think that could be a fun passing of the torch-esque matchup there.
I guess if I have to pick one, it's probably going to be the Uemura match, because I think Uemura is one of those lions that has all the potential in the world, but also the biggest question mark, and there's this connection between them. I don't know. I think really Tanahashi, honestly, at this point, is the linchpin for so much of the A block, because there's so many like connections and stories and intrigue, and it's not all good. It's just like even Oleg Boltin, the guy that like sunned him out so quick last year to even get in the tournament, like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I think he's got like Newman and Oleg Boltin in like two of his last matches before Evil, which makes me feel like, is it fucking crazy that he might like the two guys like that?
No, Oleg's early.
Oh, Oleg is early. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, he goes Taichi, Callum, let's see, Oleg. So his first, they're within his first three matches.
Okay.
Interesting. We have some other questions here. Def Triangle 720 says, do you think Tana will have short matches in the G1 he's main eventing?
Something else just struck me. What if they do the Naito story with him? They have him like lose like the first three and then like roar back at the tail end and like squeak into
just use a bunch of roll-ups, a bunch of inside cradles.
They might have him do that. I'm so nervous.
I don't feel like he needs to go into he hasn't been a great G1 performer, in kayfabe. He has not had positive. I don't think he's had a positive win-loss record since he won the tournament in 2018.
Oh, we know.
I think from 19.
He took losses to Chase Owens and Hanare. we know.
Yeah. So I don't think it really aligns with like him going into the tournament stage. I don't think that aligns with just kind of where he's at. But it's the last.
Then he's got to lose everything.
One. I think go 1-8. I would love if he went 1-8. That's probably how I'm filling out my bracket.
That's a lie. You want him to go 3-6.
It's somewhere between what I want and what I think will happen. 3-6 is probably somewhere between what I want and what I think will happen, actually.
And as far as his match length, I mean, I feel like, especially on the single block nights, they're probably going to want him to go at least 15, 20 minutes. On the double block nights, the first two nights, maybe he can get away. I think he's the main event the first night with Taichi. Maybe he can get away with a shorter match that night. Since there's going to be, the whole card is going to be tournament matches.
You can't always get what you want.
But then you're stealing from the Hokkaido fans their Taichi time.
Mm-hmm. True. Yeah.
And that's actually sort of important.
This is feeling like the wrestler more and more we talk about it. Like,
it's,
my dad's a heel wrestler. Art becoming life.
Mask has gone his way back.
MJ had some questions. What are your thoughts on Tana giving the high fly flow name to Yuki Yoshioka from Dragon Gate?
It's so annoying.
I don't watch Dragon Gate, so I don't really have any strong feelings about it one way or the other. I know some fans do, but it's like, I don't know. I ain't never seen none of these fools hit a good like frog splash to begin with. So yeah, maybe if one of them was hitting a good frog splash, then maybe there's an argument. I never seen a single one of these dudes, and then the one who maybe you can make an argument for, like Uemori, broke his arm. Like,
yeah, my whole thing is like I'm fine with it. Like I feel like a New Japan guy really shouldn't use the High Fly Flow name. Like that's so like Tanahashi thing. Like if some Dragon Gate rando wants to use it, fine. But like I feel like a New Japan guy should kind of be creating their own legacy in their own name and not relying on using like the High Fly Flow name or whatever. So
yeah, we don't need the Keito Kiyomiya Muto situation.
Right, yeah.
And I mean, I don't even know if this guy is a rando. I don't know it. Like, we'd have to ask Case Low. I have no idea.
I'm just saying, like, he's a rando to me.
Rando's not that far off. Okay. I do pay attention to Dragon Gate. I watch the big Dragon Gate stuff, and I consider Case and Mike Spears to be pretty good friends. So I did pick their brain on this a little bit, and they were sort of like, yeah, it's not really even the Dragon Gate guy that I would have given it to, but they're from the same hometown, the same town.
They're both from Gifu.
Yeah, so I think a lot of it's that, and he had been doing a splash. The splash looks like all right. It's, I don't know. I mean, what does Tana's splash look like right now? It looks like him falling off the top rope. So like, it's better than that.
It's glorious still. It'll never not be glorious.
It's an event. It's a moment. It's a moment. For the record, Hiroshi Tanahashi's average G1 Climax main event of his 78 is 19 minutes and 41 seconds. So we
need to get that down to like a tight 11. I'm not even making a joke.
You're not
so dead ass.
You're not. I know you're not. And you're probably right, but I think it's going to land closer to 19 than 11 if you want to set the scale somewhere in the middle.
Man, that's so crazy. MJ also asks, he says, let's talk about gambling. In addition to Chris Samsa's pick and pool, I'm setting the over-under line for Tanahashi hitting the top rope high fly flows to the floor at 4.5 for the entire G1. What are you taking, over or under?
Under.
4.5.
That's too much.
To the floor.
Yeah.
Under. Under.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go under.
Do that in 5 main events. There's no.
You're gonna get one on night 1 and one in the Evil match.
Yeah.
I think that's. Yeah. I think
you might get one in the finals too.
Stop it. Could you imagine him working just like 3 extra matches? Like, because if he goes into the finals, he's not winning the block, so he's got to work 3.
I could, but word on the street is no.
No. No. I love him. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm sort of trashing him at this moment, but like, I just want him to make it to the dome and for that to be exciting. I want that.
This would make a really good episode of what's that show where they do the intervention with people? Is it just called Intervention?
I think it's just called Intervention. Yeah.
This would be a really good episode of Intervention. Just like Sugabayashi, Red Shoes.
Well,
Rocky.
People have considered that already. But he's Tanahashi, he's the draw, and he's the president of the company. Like, Ishii. So he's, that does come with some Ishii's sleeping on the couch behind me. He's here for the Chicago residency. It starts in a couple of days.
Oh, man.
That'd be hilarious.
Tanahashi.
I offered.
Tanahashi just should sit in a cryo chamber in between matches. Like he should, like his car should just become somehow like a traveling cryo chamber. Like he just stays in that until it's time for the match. I just don't know how he's gonna do it.
I just don't know what you do when if something happens and he's like, man, I really can't go. Like what happens to those cards? I mean, we know what happens.
We know what happens. You get a big forfeit.
Yeah, you get the big forfeit. But like, he's still gonna try to like show up at every town and be like, I'm sorry, like
just cry,
like he does.
cry every night.
He's gonna cry hard.
He's gonna cry. But I don't see anyone.
He's gonna cry.
I don't see,
and then he's gonna promise to come back even after he retires. As a make good.
I don't see anyone in this block that I think he will have a risky match with, though. So like, I see a lot of guys that are pretty good workers, like not sloppy. I think maybe the block is built around Tanahashi. And the people that I think will work well with him, or they can work a short match and it can be fine. So at least there's that, and like some ground based guys like Oleg and Oiwa. So and some trusted guys, Taichi, Evil, Sonata, those types of dudes. So I do think that it is built for him to survive the tournament. And then I guess we'll see what the booking looks like.
Hawaiian Punch PV asks, with Tanahashi passing down the high fly flow to Dragon Gate's Yuki Yoshioka, who should he pass the Sling Blade down to? Since no one else uses it.
He already did. Seth Rollins,
Prince Devitt,
Pentagon, Prince Devitt,
Britt Baker.
Oh, Britt Baker. Some of the best.
Fauci.
Britsburg.
Fauci says Tanahashi boldly doing the G1. You figure does he got one last World Tag League in him?
Did they say bullied?
Boldly.
Oh, boldly.
Boldly doing the G1. You figure he's got one last World Tag League in him.
I was gonna say, no one bullied this man into doing.
I mean, he's probably on that World Tag League tour, right?
He should not be.
He shouldn't, but.
But he probably will be.
But him and Taguchi will be there.
Yano. They could do the Yano
if he works
again.
one last tag league, it should be like him and like Kenzo Suzuki.
Oh, man.
He's already worked 70 New Japan matches this year. Like not just singles, like New Japan matches. Like he's been in 70 matches. He leads the company.
He used to team with Yoshitatsu back in the day. They'd call him over.
Let's not. Oh man.
And they final
Goto.
He said Goto.
He should team with Goto and let Goto do all the work.
He should team with Nagata, let Nagata do the heavy lifting.
Actually, that's legit. Yeah, no, that works.
Oh, that'd be hilarious.
Nagata still looks fresh as a daisy.
Yeah. Rambone says, do you believe that Tanahashi's final opponent for the Dome is in the current G1 field, or will he be looking outside for that?
I have no idea.
I like that question because I have no idea what we're headed towards for Tanahashi in the Dome. I don't know if it's going to be a Liger thing where they do a couple of, they do a tag match. They don't have 2 nights to do it this year, so it's just the one. So it's going to be one singular match, and you got to figure he wants to go out in the singles, but I don't know.
I mean, it could be a gauntlet, sort of like the thing Ricky Choshu did in the Dome. You think I'm joking? Ricky
no, I don't.
They used to do that all the time at
joking.
shows. They would have they'd have a gauntlet. They'd wrestle a bunch of guys in 1 minute matches. Or, we just saw Tanahashi jam. Didn't he work 3 matches that night?
Two matches.
Just 2?
2.
Okay. Someone else just recently worked 3 matches a night. I wouldn't be surprised if he has 3 send-off matches on the same card.
Yeah, my gut feeling is that it's going to be somebody outside of this field. So I think it's going to be, a lot of his last matches with the guys in his block. And then, I feel like there will be something special for his last match.
I mean, I think Nakamura is the perfect opponent that it really should be, but I don't think that's realistically going to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if it does end up being him and Uemura again at the Dome.
I think we would see the writing on the wall during this G1 if that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance they set it up.
Right. If Tanahashi beats Uemura in this tournament, then I think that there's a chance that that's where we're headed. And that would be neat. That's our boy. He's still my boy. I haven't given up on him. I don't know about you guys, but he's still my boy. I might put him in the finals. Yeah. Interesting. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, you're right. Nakamura's that's the dream, right? It would be neat. It would be a vibes match. It wouldn't have to be a spectacle or a physical, super physical match. It could be a vibes match, and that might be the best for both of them at this point. But I don't know how you get there. I don't know what contracts look like though. So yeah, I don't know how you get there.
All right, let's move on to the next entry here in the A block. The never openweight champion Boltin Oleg with his second consecutive, with a career personal best at 3-6, which was last year's tournament.
I think last year was this guy's kind of coming out party to really establish himself as a meaningful singles competitor. Since then, not to say that I don't think he's been inconsistent, but he's been like consistently good with a few peaks that peak really high, but he hasn't like fully been let off the leash yet, like given the full authority to like just go out there and rip it up every night. This is where we find out if he can in fact do that sort of thing. And the fact that he's coming in with the title and with, the push that's already been behind him prior to this, you have to imagine that this is like the real test, quote unquote, to kind of see like, does he have the goods? Can he go at like the main event level? What can he do with this variety of opponents, which he hasn't worked with a lot of these guys. So it's going to be, or if he has, it hasn't been in like meaningful, big G1 style matches yet. So it's going to be really good to see and kind of tell us, like, I think a lot of the future of this company rests on his shoulders. So
his personal best is actually also 4-5 because he only won 3 actual matches, but he did receive a forfeit victory over Yu Uemura last year. So he beat Ren Narita in his first G1 match. Then he beat El Phantasmo, Takeshita, and then the forfeit to Uemura. So,
gotcha.
Those were his wins last year. Losses to Cobb, Finley, Tsuji, Goto, Hinare. So I think he'll do better. I think he'll go. He's a guy I've got penciled in if I'm just thinking it through at 5-4, especially with the Never title. The Never champion averages 11 points in a traditional 20-man G1. So I don't think he's a 12-pointer. So I think he's probably a 10-pointer. I think that's just where he's at right now. And I think there's some good opportunities to set up some stuff for the Never title. But ultimately, it's another growth piece for Oleg. I know that there are people that are asking or that are pushing for a push because they want him to be the guy that faces Aaron Wolf at the at Wrestle Kingdom because they have similar backgrounds or at least some true combat sport background, and maybe they can translate for each other. So I don't think that's the play, but if you see him put up 12 points, I think maybe there's a chance that that's where they're headed. But that feels like a stretch to me.
Yeah, and that plays into a question we got from Dragon Master Adam. He said he just finished his pick'ems and found himself giving Oleg a big push up into the knockout stage. How do you think he's progressed up until now? And do you think building him up before Wolf debuts would be a good use of New Japan's time? Or should they focus more on the Japanese talent? And like Josh said, I feel like Oleg has been progressing well, and we've seen some really moments of brilliance with those Takeshita matches. Both those Never title matches were really great, and he has some other matches where you kind of see like, all right, he's putting it together. It's he's a lot better than last year, but like Josh was saying, we haven't seen the full on like, all right, he's doing the Takeshita match every night. So I think this will be a great opportunity to see that. As far as pushing him in conjunction with Wolf, I don't really think, though, they need to be connected. I think they should push him because Boltin has the size, he can speak Japanese, and he's awesome. I think also there's probably a Styles matchup and a compelling story to tell with a potential Boltin-Wolf matchup down the line. But I think Boltin should be getting a push regardless of Aaron Wolf is coming or not.
Yeah, he's a champion.
Imagine those guys as a tag team.
That'd be dope. Getting some Steiner Brother vibes.
Just have to murder everybody.
You'd have to book the tag division then.
True.
Just book it. Just like have plans for it. It would be crazy.
So is there any exciting matchups that you guys have in mind that you want to see with Bolton in this block?
I mean, I think it's good booking that his first match is against Uemura, and that's the match that they missed out on last year after the Uemura injury. So I think that there's something neat. There's some story there, right? And I think, and I like both those guys, so I think that'll be cool.
I think the Taichi match for me, just based how well he did with Takeshita and that Never style, in a way that the role that Taichi's on, like I think that's gonna be really great.
Yeah, I was looking at the the block. There's a lot of young guys that he can probably have dynamic matches with, but Taichi is the one that sticks out to me as like, that will probably fucking rock, like those two dudes.
Yeah.
I mean, Taichi made this block so much better. I love everything Goto's done this year. I don't mean that as a trash to Goto, but Taichi's not as exposed. He's a little more interesting. He's a little more energetic. He's got a hell of a vibe backstage right now. So yeah, I mean I think we're gonna talk about him in a second. So, but on the Oleg thing, like, yeah, that's an interesting match. Like, it's another interesting one for him.
Well, yeah, let's move on to Taichi. So this is a 6th entry, first in 2 years. He is one half of the current IWGP Tag Team Champions with a career best, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, 4-5 in 2020.
I know where you got these career bests. Don't worry. It's not you.
Yeah, I did not pull the stats myself.
I know. I know where it is.
A3 Taichi defeats B2 Zack Sabre Jr. in the playoffs, or Gato's a pussy.
They already did it. They did it in the New Japan Cup. It's fine. They already did that match.
Taichi beat Zack Sabre Jr. in the playoffs, or Gato's a pussy.
Wait, Taichi would have to be what? A3. Okay.
A3.
And
Zack
would have to finish second.
Totally plausible.
Yeah, it's not out of the question.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
An IWGP champion finishing second in a block is pretty standard booking, actually. Except now with the buy and all that, there's a little weight on it. But normally they would finish second, so they don't go to the final. I would love that. Taichi's penciled in as my A3. I do think Taichi's going into the tournament, the knockout rounds. Mostly because I feel like it works and they wouldn't have to rebook whatever they had thought for Goto, because that's about where I would have landed Goto.
Taichi's the miracle run guy in this block, like, and
For sure.
win, because this is in kayfabe a pretty stacked block as far as he goes. There's very often you look at a block and you're like, there's a bunch of easy wins. You can tell like these the pin eater guys and they're gonna finish bottom of the block. It's not really like that. So it's classic G1 where it's like on any given night, anybody could be anybody. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But for him to like string together, say like 5 or 6 wins, it's going to be so fucking hard. Like realistically, unless like something changes and they want to give him a little push and a little story and get him to those playoffs, like, I don't know, Taichi probably is going to be one of the bottom guys in the block realistically. But I'm hoping that's not the case.
Well, if we're believing that they knew there was a chance Goto wasn't doing the G1, and everything Taichi's been saying backstage has been leading to him, making it into this tournament, and the fact that night 1 is in Hokkaido, I mean, that's Taichi's home area against Tanahashi, that would be quite the opportunistic booking to luck into. So it does feel like there's some smoke to this. There might be, where there's smoke, there might be some fire, right? Maybe they knew, maybe they at least knew there was a chance, and Taichi was planting seeds as the first alternate, and they sort of knew where they were headed. I guess we're working injuries now, so maybe it's possible, but my lock of the tournament might be that Taichi is winning on night 1. Because Tanahashi has lost 5 first his first match of the G1, he's lost 5 years in a row. And Taichi, actually, in his last 4 G1s, he won his first match 4 of his 5 G1 years. So you figure that's a great, establishing win for Taichi, because people may be looking at him as a guy that was sort of on the outside looking in and, not necessarily a threat. But if he can come in and win the main event against the ace of the company on night 1, in what will probably be the best Tanahashi match of the tournament, would be my bet. I would bet on that right now. Then I think maybe there is a little story, a Cinderella run with Taichi. I think that'd be fun as hell.
But you said at the beginning of the show we needed to get in the mind of the booker, and everything you're saying is too.
It makes too much sense. Joel Abraham, I believe.
Like we need to get in the mind of like Ghetto in 2025 and whoever else is on that committee, Kikuchi, whoever the fuck.
Josh, I said the booker.
Oh, the booker. So, I'm trying to get in the mind of the booker. I'm just following the patterns. And I'm like, this shit's not going to make any sense. It's going to be very disappointing when it's all said and done. And, if anything, Tanahashi might be that guy that needs the surprise win on the first night.
That's true. Yeah.
It just makes too much sense. It's there in Hokkaido. Taichi's going to eat a loss in his hometown in the main event. You're going to be like, fuck. And
I'm like, there goes my lock.
And then we think he's going to come back, but he's not, because it shit just doesn't make sense, in this company. So who knows?
I'm excited for the Taichi and Uemura match as well. That's on night 2, because that's sort of a just 5 guys explode situation. Taichi really did make this tournament a little more interesting for me, because he hasn't been around as much, especially in single situations.
Hold on, he said just 5 guys explodes. Pause.
Oh man.
Mark for edit.
I think Taichi is going to be, one of the MVPs of this block, and based off of the Ishii performance, like he should be going deep in this tournament. We did have a question here from Brady Ray 16. Does Taichi have a chance to make a run, even though he wasn't originally planned for the G1? And if it was a 1-to-1 Twitch and Goto spot out, like you mentioned, I think it makes sense to get him that run. And just looking at the crowd reaction, how a bunch of crowds invested in him, and the fact that he can still have a pretty high match quality, that's a guy that he can give you those G1 level style matches. So he's a guy that I would put in those semifinals. And I mean, who knows? Like maybe give him a fine. Who knows? But he's definitely a guy I want to see go far in this thing. And like I mentioned earlier, I think the Bolton match is going to be a lot of fun, just because Bolton does really well with those strikers and never style guys. And there's a lot of matches for Taichi to get some revenge on people. So also, it's not probably going to be a great match, but Sonata's in there. I want to see him get some revenge on Sonata, get some revenge on Evil for taking all of his faction mates. So there's some guys here that he can get some comeuppance on and kind of have us really, turn around Cinderella run and have a memorable G1.
For me, I don't think that there's any more compelling matchup in the block than Tanahashi and Taichi on night 1, just because of the narrative surrounding both those guys. That's one where I don't know if it's going to be as good as some of the other matches in the block throughout the tournament, but it's the one that to me is most compelling, especially with Tanahashi going in as fresh as possible of all the matches in the tournament, so that's the one where I'll be locked in.
Yeah. And we had a question here from that dude named Menace. Can the Holy Emperor win the G1, or do I have a crippling gambling addiction?
I never. Those are the only two options. It's everyone.
I never think people have one until they tell me that they think they might have one. I'm like, if you think you got one, you definitely got one. Like, it's for sure.
All right. Up next, the former IWGP Global Champion, the Gene Blast, Iota Tsuji, third entry, third consecutive, and he was the finalist last year.
I mean, the classic story is lose the final, win the tournament the next year, right? So I think, and I think a lot of people are going to be tapped into that. I haven't looked at any of the pick'em data on who people are picking to win the tournament yet. I actually don't have it yet. That's a whole nother story.
Well, based on screenshots, I'm seeing a lot of people got Tsuji.
Tsuji's in the mix for sure. So I think, and I don't think that that's a terrible play, but I don't think he's hot right now, but people heat up throughout the G1. So I'm not worried about that. It's weird though, with the unaffiliated situation, not having the unit and it kind of being vague. That's sort of an odd place to be, but there's so many guys in that situation that you kind of have to discard it more this year than you normally would. Normally it would be a situation where, Tsuji was at least tapped on the shoulder as a guy that you think was going to be a leader of a unit. And then, as the G1 goes on, something happens. He becomes the, leader of the unit shortly after the G1, blah, blah, blah. I don't think we're going to see any of that. So it's sort of every man for himself to some extent. So Tsuji, in that way is set up to succeed. So, and this block is open to be taken. I don't doubt that Tsuji will have a strongly booked G1. He's not my pick to win, but I'm not going to be surprised if he does.
Yeah. I think that he is the odds-on favorite to win the block. I don't know if he'll win the whole entire G1. I know a lot of people are favoring him too. And like Chris said, that is very classic Gato. You fail the 1 year. And if you're like a tip top guy that they have like on deck, you come back the next year and you win the tournament. That's pretty normal for his booking. So I wouldn't be surprised if in some cases you would just say that that's the chalk pick because that's historically what they've done many times. So I wouldn't be surprised. At the same time, we've said it many times before, like, of course, everything Chris said about the unaffiliated situation is 100% true, but of all the young guys, the one who's like the most fully formed, it's going to be Tsuji, the guy who's the most accomplished, who's like hit these like career, like building block milestones, like the challenges, winning the belts, winning this tournament, going to the finals last year. He's kind of had that natural projection that has eluded every other Reiwa guy, including Umino, so it just makes sense logically. And maybe it makes too much sense. Maybe that's why you shouldn't count, put all your ducks or all your eggs in one basket. I don't know. But, I think of everybody in the block, he's the person that I'm counting on to perform at the highest level and kind of be the MVP.
Yeah, so as of right now, Monday, July 14th, 9:46 p.m. Eastern, I have Yota Tsuji slated as my winner for the tournament. I thought Tsuji's G1 last year was very good. I thought the final against Zach was excellent. And, Tsuji's had some really great moments throughout the year. Also, the Gabe Kidd match from February was, stellar match of level quality. Not the best global title run, but like Josh mentioned, they're giving me these milestones. I feel like the stars are aligning for him. He dropped the global title to Gabe Kidd at Dominion. He was a finalist last year. He is the one young guy that's been, put in these big spots already. And so, we're in a company that I've been saying it for weeks now. We're in an aceless company. We need to establish an ace. We need to get one of these young guys over. And I think, from day one, Yota Tsuji has been like the guy to me, and I wish he would have beaten Sonata. I felt like the bill was so perfect for that, and I feel like this could be a big moment for him, and he could be a guy that you can build a company around. And so I would be keeping my eyes on him as a guy to potentially go into the finals. But again, we kind of talk about the booking, and sometimes things are not lining up like they used to or making sense. So maybe a situation where he gets close, maybe he gets to the quarterfinals, or maybe he wins the whole block, gets to the semis, and then blows it and doesn't get to the finals. But I would definitely at least have him in that playoff situation. And then what matches are you guys thinking he'll have the best match against here in this block?
I'm looking forward to Uemura because I think that I like their series. Post Young Lion, I like, obviously they had tons of matches as Young Lions too. So that's one I've got highlighted. Oiwa. I think that's a first time singles match. Which seems a little weird, but they are, by the time Oiwa came in, Suji was out. Yeah. So curious just what that looks like. And especially as I'm hopeful for Oiwa's G1 too, to have a good run here. So yeah, those are the two, sort of guys that I think are going to be around for a while that you got to start to establish some long-term stuff with, even if it's just long-term G1, tournament booking.
Honestly, when it comes to Suji, I kind of have to, I have to list the matches that I'm not that interested in when it comes to him, because almost every single one of them is appealing to me. The only ones that I just don't have much stomach for are going to be like Evil, Sonata, and I don't know, maybe the no, that one's gonna be good too. So like those only two, like those two House of Torture matches are the only ones that are not really up my alley. Everything else is super compelling. And one that Chris hasn't mentioned, I think the Oleg Boltin match, considering that like down the line, that could easily be an IWGP title match. So I'm looking forward to that one. That's going to tell us a lot about both those guys.
Yeah. And
you're not looking forward to Suji's first weekend because he starts with Sonata and then he gets Evil the next night.
Yeah, that sounds horrendous. But then he's going to go on a really, really fantastic run. And then obviously like him and Finley tore it up last year, or, at the beginning of the year. So
yeah, that's what I was going to mention. One of his rivals here, Dave Finley, they feuded over the global title. And yeah, I think, they've had some great matches. That could be another compelling matchup. And then agree, like the Uemura match, there's so much history there, especially with Uemura getting hurt in the G1 match last year from the Frog Splash against Suji, and then Suji using the deadbolt to get into the finals. There's a lot of history, lore, Young Lion stuff there. So that can be a special matchup.
Yeah, the Uemura match is Suji's third match on the 22nd. So that should be when you start to tag in on what's going on with Suji.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Uemura, he's next up here. So second entry, second consecutive. Like we mentioned, he got hurt last year in the tournament and wasn't able to finish his G1 run.
And I am of the belief that he was going to sneak into the playoffs last year. And I think that threw everything into a loop. I don't think he was going to win the tournament, but I think he was going to be a factor. I think they were going to establish him as a threat in the G1. So with that said, I think he's going to be a threat in this year's G1. I think this might be I hope this is his coming out party. I hope it's not just happy to be here, Uemura. I hope he shows up. Looking forward to pretty much his entire block. Maybe not the Evil and Sonata stuff, but everything else: Tanahashi, Taichi, Oleg, Suji, Oiwa, Callum, Finley. Like those all sound great to me. This is a good block. I'm enjoying talking about this block, which leads me to believe it'll be pretty good. And I do know that we will eventually talk about Evil and Sonata.
Yeah, I mean, I think that since Uemura has returned, I don't think he's necessarily found that momentum that he had going through last year's G1. So it's sort of a shot at redemption. There was clearly a very strong narrative going on. Whether he was going to, whether Chris is right, whether he was going to get to the playoff, the play-ins or playoffs or whatever or not, is kind of besides the point, because he had some of the best matches of the tournament, some of the biggest and most meaningful wins of last year's tournament. And he was clearly poised for big things to come following that tournament. And then he got injured and it kind of just deflated all the wind out of his sails. So there's a very, very easy story to tell here. And if you want to, I think that with them not being able to fully figure out Uemura's character completely up to this point, being able to put him in the G1, which is something that just creates its own narratives and makes it so easy to tell stories without having to rely so much on the character itself and on the promos and all of that sort of stuff. The narratives are just kind of there for the taking. And I think that this is a really great opportunity to see like where is he right now? Is he what we think he was going to be? And is he going to take that ascent? And, you know, in a similar sense, like we talked about Oleg Boltin kind of like getting the, you know, like the reins let off and him being able to kind of go and like really show what he could do. Uemura is in the same spot. Like we already know what Suji can do. We know what Gabe Kidd can do. We know what some of these guys are capable of, but I don't think we've seen the full potential of Uemura just yet. And I think that that's what he needs to focus on in this tournament is like showing out and really making a name for himself in the tournament performance wise.
Yeah, I think last year he was just kind of scratching the surface of what he could potentially be and do in a tournament like this, and you know, was having a good tournament until he got hurt. And since he's returned from injury, he really hasn't been put in any big spot. So yeah, I think this would be a great platform for him to kind of get back on the roll of what he was doing last year and be a guy that could potentially go into that playoff scenario. And he's another young guy that they need to, you know, get the ball rolling with and get him in a position to where you can rely on him. And yeah, I think there's a lot of compelling matchups in this block for him. We talked about the Suji match, and very similar to Taichi. There's the whole, you know, getting revenge on Sonata and Evil and these House of Torture guys. So those matches might not obviously be great, but could be some comeuppance there. And then also, yeah, the Taichi match that Chris mentioned earlier was just kind of that mentor role that Taichi had been playing to you since he came back from excursion and joined the Just 4/5 guys group. So I think he's another guy to circle and keep your eyes on in going into the playoffs. So next up, we'll talk about David Finley with his fourth entry and fourth consecutive. He was a block finalist in last year's tournament.
I think the thing with David Finley is I'm kind of shocked at, we've talked about some of the booking malpractice that's taken place in this company so far. And the fact that going into the first quarter of the year, this felt like a guy who was poised for a potential title run and being really stepping up into a top tier level kind of performer, main eventer of the company. And then in short order, you know, that House of Torture feud, even though I guess they won the cage match, that match with Evil kind of felt a little bit disastrous. I know that they're back in the same block with one another and it feels like we're getting more of the same. And I don't think that this is probably going to be the end of Evil and David Finley. It feels like this is sort of like a holding spot for the two of them. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see them going head to head again, either in the, you know, fourth quarter of the year or in the Dome. But I think that he's going to have a really, really good tournament. He's a guy that's matured into a performer that can go with the best of them. And this is going to go a long way to reestablish David Finley as, you know, kind of having that momentum he had coming out of late last year. And I don't see him. I wouldn't be surprised if he is like a play-in guy, but I don't see him as being somebody that's going to final in this tournament. And I think that right now he is just kind of stuck in that Evil nebula where that's what they're preoccupied with. That's what it's going to be. And I don't think they're going to pay that story off in this G1 at all.
Finley's been so start and stop for the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years. He kind of comes and goes. He's not often on the smaller tours, and that's all fine. And he heats up okay in these tournaments and stuff like that. But I don't think he's that dude that you can count on long term, I guess, or even long term or semi long term, like New Japan booking like 6 months long term. So, but again, he does heat up throughout these tournaments, and he's so credible and so good at match structure that you have to trust that he's going to have a good tournament. But as for how he's going to land or where he's going to, you know, is he the leader of the War Dogs still? You know, like he's not the most vocal member, that's for sure. He's not the most visible member internationally, that's for sure. but that does make him feel a little more special, right? But he's generally booked strong. So he's the guy that I kind of think I use as like that top tier of the block balancer, where like he's gonna finish third or fourth, and I just don't know where I think he's gonna land yet. That would be my bet. If I had to bet, he's in, that he's playing. His last match of the block will matter to whether or not he's going through.
Yeah, and I like Dave Finlay. I think he's made tons of improvements over the last couple of years. He did win his block last year and got into the playoffs, and I don't know if I want to see him in the playoffs again. I feel like there's a lot of other guys that kind of need to get that spot and get that rub. Potentially maybe a third place guy, but I just feel like there's so many other guys in this block that I want to see get a shot. I want to see Tsuji. I want to see Uemura. Even give Taichi a shot. Like, there's so many guys in here that, Oleg, that could really benefit from being one of the final three. And I feel like, Finlay could be that veteran hand where you beat him to elevate somebody getting into the finals, and you don't necessarily put him in the finals, especially since, like Josh mentioned, he is kind of stuck in the evil vortex. And if that's going to be the program for the rest of the year, you don't necessarily really need to put him into the finals. It might be kind of a waste of a spot. So I think he's going to be a solid, hand in this tournament. I think he'll, be a bruiser and have some really solid matches, but he's not somebody I want to see advance this year. And as far as, the matches to look for him, like we mentioned earlier, I feel like him and Tsuji will be one to watch. I think him and Oleg could be fun because, Finlay tries to play, this big bruiser, this bully. And we saw what happened when he faced, Brody King at Wrestle Dynasty. I mean, he was still able to power out, but he got bullied a lot during that match with Brody and finally was able to, power up and hit a powerbomb on Brody. So I think a similar match format for him and Bolton could be a lot of fun. What about you guys?
I'm looking forward to Tanahashi because apparently they've never done it. And that's an interesting dynamic. That might tell us a little bit about where the War Dogs land in the kind of heel face spectrum too, kind of what that match looks like. So I'm keeping an eye on that because, there's like 4 units in New Japan now, right? Like it's like War Dogs, House of Torture, TMDK, and Hantai.
And unaffiliated.
Sure, which is a unit, or are they unaffiliated?
They got merged.
And I guess you've still got the bones of United Empire.
Agony.
But
the bones of agony.
Oh. Yes, sure.
You mean the Gates of Agony?
Nope, it's a group. They exist. They're a thing.
Bone Thugs in Harmony?
No. No, but I almost kind of wonder if potentially David Finlay, like, I don't know, is on his way out.
That's what it feels like. The way his years went, it feels like right now, like,
I know it's just speculation, but it doesn't feel like he's a guy that they're like invested into and pushing right now, when in the past they have.
Yeah. We'd have a couple questions.
Am I right? He won the New Japan Cup, right?
Yeah, and then he lost.
Yeah, but he won. But that's something.
It is something. Sometimes guys get something just before they leave.
It's true.
Like Goto.
and Naito.
Yeah.
And Osprey and Okada and Jay White.
Talatonga.
It's getting sad.
We have a couple questions here. PCOS 2001 says, is Finlay cleared to compete in G1 after the Evil match? And I mean, I would say yes. We haven't heard anything about that being a legit injury, but who knows? They're working injuries now. So
I do think that the Uemura match is going to be interesting, given their kind of like narrative history with each other.
And his other question from Fauci says, Finlay's been pretty prominently featured all year. global champ to New Japan Cup winner to feud of top heel Evil in some rare gimmick matches. But it seems like there isn't much talk or hype about him for the G1, or if anything Wrestle Kingdom related. Do you think he'll make the playoffs? Odds he'll be in a singles title match against, again, Wrestle Kingdom. Is he supposed to be a babyface now like everyone else who isn't in House of Torture?
He said top heel Evil. Which is probably right. It just sounds, he is, but it just sounds so funny.
I mean, you got to imagine, just based on where the people in this block, he's going to be in the mix. Because you can pretty much throw out Sonata, Newman, Oiwa, and Oleg, and say they're probably not making the playoffs. And maybe Oleg could sneak in there as never champ, but I would say Tanahashi's on that side of the list too. So you've got whatever 4 or 5 guys that are sort of in the mix to make it out of the block. And Finley's certainly, he's a known entity. He's a good hand. He's a guy that can put together some great matches if you put him in a big spot. He has been sort of saddled with this Evil, story all year. And that's a struggle. And, we all know that the last match didn't land. And I don't know. I don't know if they're going to stick with that. You guys seem to think that that's the story going forward, but I think Evil's going to be busy with Tanahashi and Hantai. And I think the War Dogs are going to move on to something else. So I think more than anything, this might be sort of an establishing tournament for Finley to kind of recenter him.
Yeah, and also to this question, I don't think that he's really being positioned as a babyface. Maybe he can eventually become a tweener. It's something we were talking about last week with this inconsistency with like Gabe Kidd's character and like why isn't Finley really saying anything. I think that could be an interesting, post-tournament angle is like him kind of having conflict with Gabe on like, all right, where's your head at? Are you a War Dog? Are you a Death Rider? Are you Shinny Han? Like, what are you? And are you loyal to me or not? I think could be a compelling direction if they're not going to go in the Evil stuff into the fall.
And, to speak to kind of what you said, Chris, I don't necessarily fully agree about who can and can't get into the playoffs just because there's 3 spots and they can kind of pick and choose because it's really like they could choose guys that we're not anticipating going into those playoffs as that just being the elevation for them. And it's
the old Hikuleo.
Yeah, and it's not the most exciting thing in the world because it's like when they get there, that they're not going to make it to the final sort of thing. So it's more reminiscent of like New Japan Cup booking. Mm-hmm. But I just won't be surprised if there's a shock guy that gets through and then you're like, fuck, I already know this guy's going to lose. And then they do. And then it kind of becomes chalkish down the stretch, So, but that's their prerogative. I also, one thing we didn't talk about, Jeremy, you mentioned, the fact that like going into the finals, you've got A block people mixing with B block mixing with A block. Last year, they kept everything A and everything B, and people didn't like that because they were like, well, we got these rematches in the play-ins. And so people are like, I like this better because it's kind of guaranteeing us to get fresh matches. But what they're forgetting is that historically, and maybe they'll shy away from this, but historically, this sort of scenario has resulted in finals that were rematches from the same block more often than not.
But not
recently.
Not recently, since they've gone to this being possibly like in Best Super Juniors and stuff.
In Super Juniors, yeah, they shied away from it. So they probably, they might, but it's 2025. It's ghetto. You don't fucking know.
Oh yeah. When I saw the format, I was like, okay, so we're getting a single block final. Because why wouldn't they just keep it the same as they did last year?
True.
If that's not how you wanted to book it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
Why convolute it if you're not potentially teasing that that's a direction you could go?
Well, that's sort of what they're doing with the tournaments these days.
Yeah.
Convoluting them.
Yeah.
It's just so they can get more dates at the end of the day.
It's not more dates. It's the same number of dates.
Okay.
It's the same. I mean, it's 19 G1 shows. It's the same as they did in the golden era. So they aren't getting anything more out of it. Except I guess you get a couple more high stakes matches, but the block finals were that already. So I guess you get one more knockout night.
Yeah.
But like the second to last night, no, you don't, because you had each of the block finals. So you had B block final, A block final, and then you had the final. And now you've got
these are just a little more definitive. You're not having that whole.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but that's about it.
Yeah. I think I'm on record as saying I prefer the one person from a block goes through, and it's, that makes the block matter so much more. But also I do like the drama of the knockout stage. I wish they had.
It makes it harder to predict the tournament.
Yeah. I wish they'd done what I really liked if they were.
You've muted yourself, Chris. Yeah, you're muted. And we still can't hear you now. So Chris was making a point. I guess we need to move on until he gets back in.
Yeah. So while he's working on that, let's move on to the next guy, Evil, who's coming in with his 10th entry, 10th consecutive. He was a semifinalist in 2023.
Oh God, please. He's gonna he is probably one of those dudes that is poised to potentially get into a final spot. The only thing that's like the silver lining of the cloud is he's got Tanahashi on the final night. And regardless of how Tanahashi's tournament has gone, you have to imagine at the very, very bare minimum least, he's going to play spoiler to Evil and perhaps potentially keep him out of the block or out of the playoffs. Or if he does beat him, maybe even to lower him to the, he's not the guaranteed guy that goes through sort of situation. So we'll see. There's not much I'm really looking forward to with Evil. I mean, I've talked ad nauseum about Evil over all these years and House of Torture. I just don't have much stomach for it these days. I'm sure he'll do well in terms of the kayfabe. I think he'll do terrible in terms of the actual entertainment and performance side of things. And that's about it. I don't have much more to say there.
Yeah, as I was booking out my tournament, at first I was I had Evil low, but then I was thinking about it, man, they've been doing this whole renewed House of Torture push. He's probably getting through. So I have him as my third place, my A3 right now, because just the way they've been pushing House of Torture lately and pushing him, I just have a feeling that he's going to be that one guy that they kind of sneak in, just like they did in 2023.
Who are we talking about?
Evil.
We're talking about Evil now. Time has moved on without you.
It could have been, no, you're fine. It could have been Evil or Sonata, I suppose, from what I was hearing.
Yeah, let's copy and paste basically everything I said for Evil.
Yeah.
Sonata's got cooler shoes. I think what I feel about Evil in the G1 is probably echoed across the group.
Yeah, and there's not really anything I'm looking forward to seeing him in. Like you mentioned, yeah, we could also lump in Sonata there. Also, with his 10th entry, 10th consecutive, he was a finalist in 2020, and we are a long way away from that. And any resemblance of a good Sonata match, and yeah, I think it's going to be him and Evo mucking up this block.
Remember when Sonata murdered his
block,
the younger generation in 2023? Remember that Sonata was champion for almost the entire year of 2023?
Insane.
Good times. Good
I think
times.
About it often.
There were a couple moments in that reign where I was like, this will work. This is fine. And looking back on it, it wasn't fine. And it's
one of the biggest L's I've ever taken on this show.
He's still here. He's still here, waiting for Okada to come back. One last great match. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, not excited for a Sonata G1.
We have a question from Deguchi Main. What are the odds that we see Evil in the playoffs? I think it's a good chance.
Higher than 50-50, yeah.
Yeah. So
I think it's very high.
He's,
Again, I think the Tanahashi final night throws that into doubt.
that's the silver lining. Yeah.
right. If it were Tanahashi on the first night, I'd say Evil's going through. At some point, Evil's going to be a threat, though, and that's going to be, you guys are going to have 20 minutes conversation about this is what they do. They make him a threat in the middle of the tournament. So be ready, everyone. Just get ready for that.
Yeah.
Book the middle of his tournament strong. It's going to happen. For where he's slotted, he doesn't have a ton of main events. I guess I could pull that up. He's slotted where I would want him to be slotted, but you still know that he's the big boss. Actually, he doesn't have any main events. So, and he's got 3 semi-mains and then, pretty much scattered throughout the card the rest of the way down. So at least there's that. At least that your main events are projected on the A block nights, that you're not going to see Evil or Sonata in those main events. So at least we have that going for us. So he's not booked terribly strong, but there is a correlation between semi-mains and people going to like the final or the knockout stage, and he's in that mix. So, yes, he'll probably be in the playoff. Or he'll get knocked out on that last night by Tanahashi, which could be really fun.
Yeah. So second to last guy here in the A block, the Prince of Pace, Callum Newman, with his second consecutive, went 2-7 last year.
I think that I feel very confident and safe in saying that as much as I like Callum Newman as a performer, he's the guy that's a no-hoper when it comes to making it into the playoff rounds. And he's kind of there to potentially just make a statement, maybe get a win over like a champion like Oleg Bolton, set up a title challenge, something like that. And, kind of show his growth as a performer, because they really kept both him and Oleg Bolton like in these undercard, within a certain time limit sort of framework last year when they're in their first G1s. And hopefully they get rid of some of those training wheels from this year.
I think Callum's the only person that lost some oomph in his tournament with Goto going out, because they had a cool title match, and it really gave Callum a lift in my eyes, at least, and I think in a lot of people's eyes. And I think he loses a little bit of juice in his tournament without Goto being involved. So otherwise, I hope he does better than 2-7 when it comes to like the booking side of things. But, it's another growth opportunity for him to show that he can do what he did with Goto with a bunch of other guys that are, perennially in the mix. So I'm more curious for Callum on the development side. I don't love watching the G1 for development. I do think the G1 should be protected in a way that's not, putting people in there to learn. They should be, it's the grade 1 climax. It's the grade 1 climax. It's not the practice climax. It's not the AAA climax. It's the grade 1 climax. And I've taken some grief for that in the past, that I don't want to watch minor league baseball in the grade 1 climax. But with all that said, that's what Callum Newman's doing. He's developing, and he's developing right in front of our eyes, and he is growing. So I do think he's more ready this year than he was last year. So I'm curious to see where that goes.
Yeah, as far as the booking, he has had some big moments this year. He had the world title match with Goto, and he had some stuff with Naito, and then he had the match with Taichi, but he always loses. So I feel like, booking wise, I see a situation where the guy does like one better every year. So I could see him like going 3-6 this year. Then next year he goes 4-5, kind of builds his way up, just the way they've been using him. I think he's going to go out and try to have great matches every night. But again, kind of maybe the pin eater of this block. I think the Tai Chi rematch is going to be very compelling because I think, a lot of fans really wanted to see Tai Chi beat him in the playoffs to get into this thing. So I think that rematch is going to have a lot of energy behind it. But yeah, he should be a guy that's going to be a good utility player and a guy that's growing in this block.
Unfortunately for him, you could potentially have seen him getting a shocking upset win over Goto. Now that's gone.
Right. Well, that's what I was.
He's definitely eating that L from Tai Chi.
Yeah, man, gonna get hit with that dangerous suplex real quick.
So Black Mephisto 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
Then last but not
actually Gato clutch.
Last but not least, the Grip, Roy Oiwa, with his debut entry into the tournament, defeating my man Satoshi Kojima to seal a spot here.
In a shocking upset.
Yes, I was surprised.
I think the thing with Oiwa is so many people want him to be the finished product just right now, and I don't think he totally is. And it is a situation where seniority always will come into play when it comes to all professional wrestling, but especially in like Japanese professional wrestling. I don't think that we're at a point right now where the company has shown like a track record of like, this is a guy we're fully vested into, and like we're gonna fast track him past Tsuji, Yumura, and Oleg Bolton. And with that being the case, I don't see him. I think he'll have a really great tournament. I think this is a chance again for a lot of these young guys in this block to show their goods and showcase what they could do. But he's not a guy making it into the playoffs. Like, just point blank, I think that's a little beyond his reach right now.
I think he'll have a good match with Oleg, and that'll set something up for him to live in Neverland.
Yeah, they were teasing some stuff with him and Oleg building up to the G1. So yeah, I do think that's probably going to be his next program coming out of G1. Also, I think the Tanahashi match will be interesting. He did lose to Tanahashi in that tag match, and Tanahashi Jam going into this, so I can see he's probably going to get his win back against Tanahashi there. The Tai Chi match should be a lot of fun. It should be very hard-hitting. I think the generational battles of him and Tsuji and Uemura could be pretty interesting as well. So I think pretty much the only thing that Oil will not do great is probably against Evil and Sonata, but I think everything else should be very compelling for Oiwa in this block. But I agree, I don't think he's going to get into the playoffs this year. Well, that's going to take us now into the B block. So we'll start with the current IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, the 2024 winner with his ninth consecutive, Zack Sabre Jr.
He's our champion.
He's both the champion and the returning G1 champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. That's uncommon, I would imagine.
I think so.
J. Michael's got that, I'm sure. I'll ask him. Zach's great. Great wrestler. Great tournament wrestler. Has a great time. Great New Japan Cups. Great G1. Loved his G1 run at the tail end of the tournament last year. Super memorable. So, yeah. I mean, what more do you say? What more do you say about Zack Sabre Jr.? He's going to have to carry the B block a little bit. But I think that's okay. He's supposed to. He's champ.
I don't know. When you say carry it, I mean, I'm looking at this list and I'm like, damn, they got there are some lower level guys, but the high level guys are so high. I'm like, the peaks are going to be crazy. Yeah. Like they got,
I think A block feels like the parity block and B block feels like the haves and have nots.
Yeah. So it's like, him and Takagi are going to ball, him and Takeshita are going to ball. Him and Gabe Kidd, him and Phantasmo. So, I mean, there's at least 4. And then there's a few of these other guys that he just matches up well with, like Okan and Yoshihashi. So it's like he's going to – I think the big thing is, like, he's very likely, as the champion, going to be a finalist. It's probably not going to make it to the finals or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he does make it into, like, the B2 spot and then gets knocked out by A3. I think that's his lot in life. But really what I'm wondering about is, like, what are the future title matches that get set up through this tournament, this iteration of it. And then he's got a lot of competition for like B block MVP because there's some heavy hitters in this one.
Yeah, I think Zach's going to have a really great tournament, and I agree, as champion and as, he won the whole thing, won his block last year. I don't think that he's going to go in and win the tournament again or win the block. I do see him coming in as second in the block and then going through to the quarterfinals there, and then eventually getting knocked out before the finals. And yeah, he's
unless he's the first ever back-to-back white man champion,
that would be an interesting decision there. But I do think,
who does he call out then?
Aaron Wolf,
Okada.
I think he does have a lot of compelling opponents here. I think Takeshita's probably a favorite to beat him, to set something up. I think Gabe Kidd could be a potential guy to beat him. I think they're facing off on the second night in the main event. That could be an upset win for Gabe Kidd there. Also, him and Shingo have had a bunch of title matches, great chemistry. I guess technically you could do another Shingo Zach. They seem to always have like a fall title match whenever they do it sometimes, so you could throw that in the mix. So I feel there's a lot of strong guys that could beat Zach in this tournament to get title matches going into the fall.
Zach's also got this thing going with this new character that he's, kind of leaning more back into his like Dick Heelish ways. So I think a lot of people are they've got their eyes, centered on that and how that progresses throughout this tournament.
Yeah, Rambones asked about that. Says, if ZSJ is leaning into more of a heel role, will the remainder of TMDK follow suit? Do you think it's a good or bad thing for the younger guys in that faction?
Good. Just any sort of defined role is good.
Yeah.
Because everyone's sort of floating in the middle right now. I mean, a lot of guys are just floating around in the middle of the heel face spectrum, even within Hantile. So I think good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those, Robbie Eagles, I think is great as a heel. Maybe that can give an edge to Vegeta and Oiwa. We've seen Hayes and Nichols as heels before. I think Harley Jackson would be great as a heel. So I think overall, it would benefit the whole faction. Yeah, it's kind of go in Zach's direction.
And TMDK should really just be like heel leaning, not even like heel, like not House of Torture heel, not Bullet Club heel, right? Like heel leaning, like early LIJ, right? Where it's just like a little nefarious, but good, but still good wrestlers doing good wrestling. It's sort of where United Empire started, maybe finished. I don't know. So yeah, I think if they can kind of dip their toe back into the heel waters, I think that would give Zach a little bit of a different vibe. And I think part of that depends on where they're headed with him. The Zach match that I'm watching closely is the Takeshita block match.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think if Takeshita loses that match, he's winning the G1.
Wow.
That's sort of where my brain's at right now, is if Takeshita loses that match, he wins the G1, maybe gets his win back, or Takeshita loses that match and somehow they get back to Zach and Takeshita in the final, and then we're doing a trilogy.
I personally don't think Zach is carrying that belt into January 4th in the Tokyo Dome.
Sure.
So I put a little less emphasis on his role as wins and loss playing into the actual final of the tournament itself to set up something down the line. And I'm kind of looking just more at like who beats him in this tournament. That probably sets up like because he's got 3 potential title matches coming up before January 4th. He's got Forbidden Door, he's got Power Struggle, and he's got Destruction. Oh, and does he have King of Pro Wrestling too?
Sometimes, yeah.
Assuming Ryogoku's open.
So maybe potentially up to 4. That's a lot of title defenses, and I don't have the faith that they're going all the way to the Dome with him again after last year's turnout. So that's my feel on things. I think he's dropping the title to somebody, maybe and it could be someone from either block. Because again, I've got him slotted to go B2. So you take your pick. What you think one of those big title change matches might be in the final quarter of the year. I don't know.
Do you think the G1 winner is taking their title match at Wrestle Kingdom this year?
And that's another question that people have thrown that out too, and I don't know.
We don't know. It's annoying.
It is a little bit, yeah.
It's a little annoying. It's a little annoying because you could count on one. You could count on some stuff, right? And they only did a title change between the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom once, and that was to get it off of AJ Styles. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that was.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
That was to set up Okada and Tanahashi.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So they
look at the comparison. White man that they didn't trust to headline the Dome.
Well, they trust Zach to headline the Dome because he did it twice.
They did, and
how'd it go?
It didn't go so well.
But maybe that was with who they put in there. But we've got a Wrestle Kingdom main event rematch here in the B block with Shota Umino and Zack Sabre Jr. No one's talking about that on the 23rd. Coming up right quick. No one's talking about that.
I could see Umino finally beating Zack there.
Oh, yeah. That feels like a lock. Or that really tells us where they're at with Umino.
Yeah.
But apparently he can just ask for a Dome main event and have it. So it's cool.
I could see Takeshita beating Zack and that being the Forbidden Door title match.
Sure. That's boring, but sure. And then do they make a title change?
I could see that too. I could see Takeshita going in to the Dome as champion.
And if they're gonna do a title change, I think that they'd need a second match between it somehow to get to it in the G1, maybe the final.
Maybe, yeah.
That sounds wild, but
I think that the thing is because Tanahashi, it is his retirement year, and assuming he makes it healthily to the Dome for whatever that match is, it does afford them a little bit of leeway to experiment. Not saying they should experiment, but they could do something a little unexpected with the title match since, the Tanahashi match is the draw anyways.
But you're also going to have broadcast TV in Japan, broadcasting the event, people watching for Aaron Wolf, people watching for Tanahashi's last match. You're going to have a full Dome. I mean, honestly, I hear you. If you're just saying we need to sell tickets to the Dome, that's your logic is totally sound. But when you think about like, this is our best chance to put somebody new in front of people's eyes to say, this is our dude. This is the guy. This is the guy that's going to take us, going forward. Not even like a torch pass from Tanahashi, but just like a guy that's going to be really important to us going forward. You got to put them in, you got to put the belt on them in the Dome or have them have the belt in the Dome to introduce them to the people that are just dipping their toe in to say, what's going on with Aaron Wolf, this guy who's a star in Japan. And, I've heard of Hiroshi Tanahashi. He's super important, right? I should watch this show. It's on broadcast TV. Like, wow, big deal. And it is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And I look at who New Japan has access to and the people that I've talked to that believe that there's a corroborated effort to make Konosuke Takeshita a humongous international star. And I think that the G1 might be the place to start that path.
Right. And that might be the guy that you do invest in for that spot, whether that's him getting crowned there, whether that's him successfully defending. But we also have all these other homegrown guys that you have to get to that elevated spot too. And what I'm saying is that this is an opportunity where they can put them in that spot safely without it being the next year where it's like, okay, now you got to draw and you have no safety net.
For sure. But you have to start that process at this year's Dome. because otherwise they're not going to draw next year's dome.
Right.
You have to introduce them.
I think we're saying the same thing. That's why I'm saying, like, you can introduce them by putting them into that headline spot.
Sure.
And there's safety in that.
Sure. And it all starts with Zach, who Zach faces in this G1, because Zach is the current champion and will be the guy that someone needs to take the belt off of or challenge throughout the course of the lead up to Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah. So there's some big stuff. I mean, I'm watching Zack Sabre Jr.'s tournament very, very closely. Just from the sense of like what's being set up for later. I think obviously he's the one of the best wrestlers in the world. You could say he's the best wrestler in the world. No one's gonna debate you. Will Ospreay might, but he'd probably say that Zach's better because he's a humble guy. Like, I don't know. But like, yeah. So, and it could be Gabe, right? It could be Shingo. It could be Shota. Again, they could try to keep doing that. He's got Ren Narita on night one in the semi-main. Like, that's sort of a big spot. And they've got chemistry, but Ren does the house torch thing. And then you got Takeshita and, and the rest of the guys, El Phantasmo, they haven't had a match in New Japan, and we know those guys pal around. Like, they're going to want to put on a banger. So Zach should have a great tournament. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the next guy here. The current IWGP Global Heavyweight Champion, War Ready Gabe Kidd, with his third entry, a third consecutive, going 4-5 last year.
What's the exhale for?
I don't know what to think about Gabe right now. And it's not the AEW stuff. It's just the fact that he's lost some of his fire in New Japan. And some of that might be opponent, right? But like, he doesn't have the same fire. And I think he's got to get that back. He's become a little bit, he's regressed back to being this madman parody thing in New Japan. And the AEW stuff does muddy the waters a little bit.
Well, Chris,
especially given
it's really simple, Chris. So, we're overlooking it.
Well, I'm not allowed to talk about it because I am not the man in the arena.
Well, Chris, the thing is, he's a heel in AEW, but he's a baby face in New Japan. We've just been missing it this whole time.
Were doing this correction.
Hey,
I don't know, but that's what we were told. So
we don't know we don't know what we're talking about. We don't see this. This happened all the time in the territory days. People were heels in one territory, faces in another territory. It shouldn't be a big deal what's going on with him. So.
This is just like Danielson and ROH PWG, apparently, is what we were told. So, although
except like this is all the same territory, basically.
Yeah, it's one big interconnected, group of promotions that work together.
I literally call CMLL, New Japan, and AEW the international territories. Like, that's what I call them. So like, it's the same territory.
Red Pro.
I did not.
Yeah, man. I mean, Gabe Kidd is a guy that if he wants to turn it on in this tournament and fire people up, he can do that. We've seen him do it last year. We know that he's capable of it. But everything that Chris talked about, everything we've been talking about, it's very much at the forefront. It exists. And it does kind of make me wonder, I don't know, like, is he a guy? I think a lot of people have him slotted as a guy that should be a semifinalist in this block. And when I'm looking at it, just, eyeballing it, it's like, yeah, well, Zach's going to take up one of those spots. And then it's like, you got to imagine Takeshita is. So then who is it? Is it him or is it Umino or is it Shingo? Or do you go with like the new guy, like a Maloney or something like that? So it's going to be tough for him. Honestly, I'm not trying to be negative Nancy here, but there is a chance that he's a guy that doesn't get into those semifinals or whatever, the playoffs, and people will be fucking pissed. So it's like, if he is going to be one of those dudes, he really needs to show something in this tournament. And I don't know, like that fire has been gone. That fervor isn't quite there that Chris was talking about. At the same time, Kid is the white belt champion. So, I mean, there's also that, but we've seen where that can be the little, the albatross that, you eat losses to set up your title matches and they prevent you from getting into play-ins. That's also a possibility.
Yeah. And that
the
could
white
be
belt champion does just about as well as a never champion in these tournaments.
Right. And that could be like, that's his thing. Like, all right, he already has a championship, so we're not going to give him a playoff spot. We're going to use that to give it to somebody who doesn't have a title that we want to get over.
He might get to a point where he is tied at the top in a tiebreaker situation, and he ate a loss to, I'm just going to throw out there, let's say Umino, because I think Umino is a realistic guy that could go through. Umino, gets the big win back over Kid. They finish at the same point total. Umino's the one that gets through, and I think that I'm not counting on Kid to go into those blocks, mainly because he does have that white belt. And I think that this is more of an opportunity for them to establish future title challengers for him than it is to put him through. But either way, I don't see him. Even if he does get through, he's not going to be a finalist because he's got that white belt. And this is a situation where when people were advocating for Tsuji to drop the white belt, this is why, because they didn't want Tsuji going into this tournament with that white belt basically being the death knell. Like, you're not going to be a finalist. You don't have a chance at winning. Well, now that's Gabe Kidd. And, for as much showcase as he gets for having that title, he got the big main event with Tanahashi. He's going to have future main events. He's not a guy that's going to win this tournament. And I know there's people that are advocating. They want him to be that guy, but this is not his tournament.
I mean, Gabe's last 3 matches are Umino, Great Khan, El Phantasmo. Like, those last 2 really tell me he's not a factor. Yeah, he might be out with the Umino match.
Yeah, that might be the key loss for him there. That keeps him out of going into the finals or the playoffs.
Right, and keeps Umino alive.
Yeah, but as far as matches, again, very similar to Zach. If Gabe turns it on, like him and Zach had a great match last year. Him and Shingo have great matches. Him and Takeshita would be a great match. I feel like him and Drilla, as War Dog brethren, we're gonna want to hit hard. So I feel like he's set up to have a really great tournament as well if he's on his A game. So moving on, next we have El Phantasmo with his 4th entry, 4th consecutive career best 3-3 in 2022. And he is the current NJPW World Television Champion.
A lot of the same things I just said about the white belt, that applies to ELP because he's got the TV title, but even more so. And ELP is a guy that, at one time, I really believed in this company in going with him at a certain level, but I think he's kind of just plateaued at a Jeff Cobb level sort of guy, very talented individual. They trust him. They like him. He's loyal. They can put him in a trusted spot and go with him, but he's not going to be a tip top main eventer. I don't know if part of that size or what it might be, but he's definitely a guy that can go out there and have he's going to have a solid tournament, and he's going to eat some losses and set up some TV title wins or, challenges, and he's not going to be in the playoffs.
I am looking forward to the Umino match, which is his first match on night 1. I think that'll be just they've got a little mini story going that they've been aligned lately. So, and I'm looking forward to seeing El Phantasmo Zack Sabre Jr. Because they haven't done that in New Japan yet, and they haven't. I think the only time they've done that was Rev Pro in 2018. So it's been a long time. So I think those will be cool. Those are going to be cool matches for him. But yeah, he's a dude that he can win a lot of match. He can win most matches. There's not a lot of surprising ELP wins, but it would be surprising to see him get 7 of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think he's going to be that your middle of the block 4 and 5 guy. He's going to set up several TV title matches. I think I'm looking forward to him and Takeshita. I know that they did it earlier this year, and it wasn't quite the peak of their G1 match last year, but here we are, G1 again. Maybe they'll hit, magic again here in this tournament and end up having another great matchup. But yeah, I think he's gonna be that guy. He's gonna have very good matches, and like you're saying, Chris, I think there is a interesting story wrinkle that could come out the Umino match, depending on who wins that thing and how that's gonna play into their tag team going forward. Another rival, he has Shingo in here. That the whole who's your daddy storyline a couple of years ago. Those are some good matches as well. He had the feud of Ocon this year. That wasn't really that great. Not really looking forward to another one of those matches in the block here, but that goes.
Hey, this is gonna come out of left field, but I think him and Yoshihashi, they're gonna fucking ball. I remember them having a killer match in the G1 a couple years back, like when you got married, Jeremy. So, yeah, they're probably gonna go out there and just fucking kill it. You know why? Because like there's no pressure. They got no stakes on them. They're just gonna ball.
Yeah, because Yoshihashi ain't going back. That's why. He's like, I'm locked in.
No, he's going back.
Next up, the Roughneck Shota Umino with his third consecutive, going 4-5 last year, but still ending up in the Tokyo Dome.
I'm not looking forward to Umino at all in this tournament. With that being said, and I haven't been a huge fan of this reboot. It showed promise, but they didn't really fully commit to it. They haven't picked a lane. I agree with Chris. The ELP match is kind of interesting just because of the narrative and the story, their partnership and everything. But they sort of need to decide what they're doing with Umino. But with that being said, I think he's probably a lock to be one of the finalists. And if he doesn't get in, that tells us something. Like something big. Like that's a huge statement if he just doesn't make it to the finals or to the play-ins.
The ELP match feels like a great opportunity for him to like turn. But I also don't know if ELP is the guy that would get the most. I don't know that Shota would get a lot out of turning on ELP. Even though I know, the crowds in Japan love ELP. But I don't, it feels like this does feel like one of those G1s where maybe they actually do some character development early and like actually have something happen with one of these guys throughout the tournament. And Umino would be the guy when you've got the most eyes on it, during that first weekend, and that match with ELP feels like a good opportunity to do it. So I don't know. My spidey sense is tingling on that just a little bit, but they never commit to anything with Umino. They just let him do whatever it is he does. It feels like with very little direction, the wind can blow in his sails in any direction. I don't know why this man shaved his head earlier this year. Like, I don't know why. I don't know why it happened. Like, it didn't matter. And they've done so much stuff with Shota Umino that just like hasn't ended up mattering. And it's like they're waiting for something to stick, but like what needs to stick is some committed storytelling, some sort of commitment with him, where it doesn't look like he's falling asleep during the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, and he's got some like character to work with that's not just I'm Shota Umino and I have hung out with Jon Moxley. He needs something. And I'm hopeful that this is an opportunity for them to do that, but I don't foresee it happening, but I wanted to plant the seed out there, just in case I'm right.
Yeah. Oh shit. Shit. The original tribal chief, Roman Reigns, returned on Monday Night Raw to confront Braun Breaker at the close of the show. This is incredible shit right here.
I'm confident that Umino is going to they're not gonna do the heel turn with him. I feel like we've been waiting now for some kind of interesting development in the turn, and they just proven to do nothing with him. They've turned him into Japanese Hikuleo. He's out there, teaming up with ELP and doing the little heart thing and wearing sunglasses, and so they have an opportunity to do something compelling, but I just don't think they are. I think it's going to be one of those cases of we're friends. Oh, hey, you got me, buddy. You beat me this time. Let's go kiss babies after the match, and we're all friendly and we're part of Hontai. have not seen any dedication to tell a compelling story with this guy. Let's create a compelling character. So they have the opportunity, but I doubt if they're actually going to do anything from that match.
I agree. I think just like Chris says stuff that's too, it makes too much sense. And it's like, it's 2025 New Japan. Like, I just don't have faith in these dudes to do the cool, fun, and logical, interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Remember the Jay White comeback G1?
Mm-hmm.
All that story, all that kind of air of mystery where he was in chaos, but everyone sort of knew he was gonna turn.
Yeah.
I miss that.
Yeah, this is nothing like that. And
I know. It should be. It should be exactly like that. People should be waiting for Shota Umino to lose his mind. But no one's waiting for Shota Umino to do anything except wrestle like a decent match.
And if he does, some people will play like Monday morning quarterback and be like, it was all there all along. And it's like, no, it hasn't been told well. It's been very inconsistent, stop and go. Like, it's not something you can count on. And it's not built. And when it does deliver, it'll probably fall flat as opposed to like the Jay White turn, which like, they drew business off of it for years.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The worst thing that happened to Shota Umino was the reaction that Jack Perry got in Chicago at Windy City Riot. Because people actually thought that Shota Umino like mattered in that match, but it had nothing to do with Shota Umino. It had everything to do with CM Punk. And I mean, I had a great time, but often I forget that Shota Umino was Jack Perry's opponent in that match. I just think about the reaction that Jack Perry got. And that also is probably the worst thing that's happened to Jack Perry, for that matter. As great as that moment was, it inflated what they thought he was, and it set him up to fail.
Yeah, I haven't seen him.
So that's
in
just
a long time.
But I do believe that is the thing that made people believe Shota Umino was way further along than he is. In a sense of crowd reaction.
I think it was his genetics that set him up to fail, but that's just
well,
moving on to the next guy here, Yoshihashi, coming in as his 8th entry, first in 2 years. 2022 going 3-3, so he got in here through the play-in tournament. So he's once again back in G1.
I mean, God bless Yoshihashi. He accomplished his goal. He's here. And, I hope he has fun.
I'm glad he's here.
That's about it.
Yoshihashi's one of, I was just looking at it, he's one of 5 wrestlers still in the tournament, or I guess back in the tournament, who were in the 2019 G1. There has been 75% turnover since the 2018 G1. So that includes Yoshihashi, even though he left and came back, as did Taichi. So, but here's the thing. Yoshihashi, he's going to give you max effort for this whole tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that rules. I'm into that. I'm into guys giving max effort during an entire G1. And so he's going to do that. And he should be pretty fresh. He hasn't been doing much like heavy lifting since Bishamon kind of faded. So, I'm glad he's here.
Yeah, one of my favorite G1 matches is 2017, him versus Yuji Nagata. I think it was like the first like singles Yoshihashi match I've ever seen. And like that match rocked. I thought Yoshihashi was like this like super top guy, like the way he was wrestling in that match. Clearly that was not the case, but yeah, he's going to give max effort, and it's going to be great. And again, like this is almost kind of like a never block, and there's a lot of hard hitters in here for him. Like him and Shingo should be great. Him and Takeshita should be great. Like him and Gabe should be great. Him and Zach will be great. Like he's just going to be having a bunch of like hard hitting fun matches with people in this block.
Yeah, I mean the thing too is like you never know if he like really kills it, right? And just has an incredible tournament. maybe he gets slotted for that 1-4 Rambo. Maybe he wins it. Maybe he turns around and transitions that into a title run that we never saw coming. And then he holds it until Street Fighter 3 calls him and tells him, we need you to come play. I don't know, Ryu.
Yoshihashi beat Kenny Omega in his first ever G1 Climax match in 2016.
That's true.
That rocks.
Yeah.
And then he never beat him again.
He also Yoshihashi has the fourth lowest G1 winning percentage of all time at 310. So he's 18-40 in the G1. Ooh. So not looking good for old Yosh. But Chase Owens is, believe it or not, worse. So,
well, he's worse in every way, and it could have been him here, and it's not. So that's good.
Exactly. Yeah. So here's Yoshihashi to save the day with his 310 all-time winning percentage in the G1.
Next up, the Dragon Shingo Takagi, 7th entry, 7 consecutive. He was a block finalist last year.
500 all time in the G1 though. 25, 23, and 2. So a threat for a draw. But he's not one of those guys that I just want to do something different.
Yep.
Just he's poking with the stick. Come on, do something. Just I want him to show up in a different way, but I don't think he's going to. I think we're gonna get some great Shingo matches. There's some great stuff in this block for Shingo. I mean, Drilla, Gabe, Great Okan, and Shingo have done okay in the past. Takeshita, Zach, Yoshihashi. I mean, most of the block. I'm looking forward to Shingo's tournament. God, I feel like I sound like Josh from We Work Stiff. Like from a character development standpoint, I just want them to do something with Shingo though. Yeah. Like. We know he can have the matches, but I feel like he needs something. He needs someone to light a fuse on him.
Light the fuse.
Bring the boom.
No, I totally agree.
Dynamite.
I watched that recently and I was like, wait, they changed the theme song? I don't even know when they did that.
They've changed it like 4 times now.
Oh, I only remember the first one.
First one was the theme song for a long time, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think so. Because I watched for a while.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way for me to rehash what you said, Chris. I think you said it in a much more concise manner than I would. So yeah, I agree. I think that we're all waiting for something new to happen with Shingo, especially with the recent shift with LIJ to unaffiliated or whatever. And kind of looking at the fact that he recently challenged for the title, he was unsuccessful, they haven't shifted the character, just seems highly unlikely that considering who else is in the block that they're going to have him edge out both Takeshita and the IWGP champion, as well as Kid and or Umino. So I think that, again, this is a tournament where he'll have great matches. Like you said, best case scenario, we start to see some sort of fresh take on the Shingo character. And that's probably the thing we're all hoping for. And who knows, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe if they do refresh the character in some form or fashion, then maybe he would be deserving of a playoff spot. But as of right now, if it's just Shingo that we've come to all know and love, but nothing different, why should he be in the playoffs, especially with how much young blood there is here?
Right, and he just recently lost world title match at Dominion, and yeah, he's doing this whole unaffiliated thing. And so yeah, there's nothing really compelling there. And again, like we were all saying, yeah, from a match standpoint, he's probably going to kill it. Again, I said this is a never block. There's a lot of guys he's going to have great pairings with, great matches with here in this block. But yeah, from a push standpoint, I think a lot of people love Shingo, and he didn't really get his flowers during that 2021 world title reign during the pandemic, and I think people want to see him get another crack at being a champion and being a main eventer and doing something cool. But if they're not going to, change up this whole unaffiliated thing, which I don't think they are, because they actually, it sounds like they're selling a lot of unaffiliated t-shirts. We just had the whole Daiki Nagai thing where he is quote unquote being unaffiliated with them, and he got a shirt. So it seems like they're going to keep doing this whole unaffiliated thing, and it's pretty much just LIJ without the red and without the logo is what they're doing. And so, like Josh was saying, yeah, if that's the case, let him have great matches, but I don't think we need to give him a playoff spot this year. Then next up from the United Empire, Great Okan with his 5th entry, 5th consecutive. He went to the playoffs last year in kind of a surprising call. Not a lot of people saw that one coming.
Great Okan went on a run. Wasn't that?
It will not be repeated.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
He's another block balancer. Can win meaningful matches, but can also lose anything. So you love to put these guys in a tournament if you're the booker, because you've placed them just right. I mean, like, no one was really stunned by any of his individual victories last year during the G1, but nobody's ever surprised when he loses, and that's the you need like 2 or 3 of those in any sort of G1 block, because that's how you balance it out. So he's that guy. I genuinely like Great Okan's matches, most of them. Every now and then there's a dud, and rarely is the ceiling very high, but I think he's good. He's that guy who's good. I'm looking forward to him and Takeshita. For some odd reason, I think him and Gabe Kidd could have like a emotional struggle type match. Those are probably the 2 I would highlight there.
Yeah, I don't think it's a big coincidence that last year when he went on that run and went to the play-ins and made it to the semifinals, that he also turned it up in the G1, and people were like, man, he's really working his ass off. Yeah. And I just kind of feel like I'd be shocked if that happens again here. Although, Chris has spoken very cryptically all episode about, the bones of United Empire. So maybe he knows something we don't know about that group.
I just got to wait for TJP to post it to Reddit.
But, I don't know. I don't know what he needs to kind of move forward, but I do think he's a block balancer, like Chris said. And, he's a guy that can beat anybody on any given night, but I don't think he'll be a factor when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I could see him, beating one of the champions in this block to get a title match in the fall. He could potentially, beat Gabe, get a white belt match, beat ELP again, and do that again in the fall. So he's a guy that could be his thing. Get a title match, but then he's going to lose a bunch of other matches in the block. I think the Zach match will probably be one of his best matches in the block, the one that I kind of have circled. Okan can lean in more into that, his grappling with Zach and have a really fun matchup there. And, if he really wants to lean back into the heavy hitting, I mean, yeah, Shingo's there, Yoshihashi's there, Takeshita's there. He could, if he started to wrestling more of that Never style, he probably could have a really good tournament. Then next up, the Alpha Konosuke Takeshita, coming in his 2nd G1, and he went to the block playoffs last year.
I think he'll be in the playoffs again. I think he's a guy that they have big goals for, whether that's, headlining the Dome or winning the title. I think he's going to be in that mix. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a title shot before the Dome, or if he is potentially the winner of this G1, or he's going to be in the main event mix going into the final quarter of the year and going into Dome season. So I wouldn't be surprised. I know, like last year we talked about how dominant we thought he'd be in the block, and then he did eventually start taking losses and it kind of evened out. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on a more dominant run this year than he did last year, and really sets him up for whatever it is that they have planned for him. So he's also very, very likely going to be the MVP of the block as well. So, there's that.
I think Takeshita's winning the G1.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of rumblings of, a big push coming from him soon, and he did not win the ROH title at Supercard Honor against Bandito. I think a lot of people thought he was going to win that title, and I thought without him, coming to that tournament without the title, I think that opened him up to winning the G1, spending most of the fall and winter in New Japan.
I mean, I'll speak on it early since you got. Oh, I'm sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No, have at it. I mine can wait.
I was just gonna say, I know both of you guys kind of given your predictions for the G1. I haven't really worked out my brackets, but I've really given a lot of thought to what is the most appealing title match that you could possibly do in the Dome, and I think it's also very likely the most appealing match that you could do for the G1 Finals, which is very likely Takeshita and Tsuji.
Yep, that's the final.
For that reason,
I got penciled in.
I think a lot of people do, and I got to tell you, for that reason, I don't know what my finals are yet, but I'm telling you right now, what I think is this is my booking. I think Takeshita makes it to the semifinals, gets knocked out. Tsuji wins the G1. Takeshita has beaten Zach in the tournament and gets a title shot. He wins the title. He goes into the Dome as champion. Tsuji and him is the bigger match that needs to happen in the Dome. I think it could be the G1 Finals, and of course, who knows? We've seen in the past where the G1 Final could also be the Dome match, but it's rare. I just can't imagine if Takeshita wins in the Dome. How do we get to this? To who is the person he's going to face for the title? In the Dome. How do we get there? That just doesn't make sense to me. Same thing with Tsuji. I think it needs to be a situation where you keep them apart for now and you do it in the Dome. And that's the big passing of the torch. We crown Tsuji. They've already made Takeshita. I think that's where we're going personally. But I'm very rarely right about what the Dome main event is going to be this far out.
I'm choosing not to think about. Obviously it's out there, right? But I'm choosing not to think about how the G1 contributes to the Dome because we don't know that we don't know anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm choosing to look at the G1 sort of as a vacuum for potential for the Dome.
Right.
And I'm looking at Takeshita's G1 last year, and he lost to two key names. He lost to a couple of guys, but he lost to two very key names that should be factors going forward, potentially in this year's G1. He lost to, and that he hasn't sort of, addressed already. He's already addressed his loss to Oleg Boltin. He lost to his first loss in New Japan was to Yuya Uemura last year, and which was a shock. I was stunned by that result. Great match too, and he got knocked out of the G1 last year by Yota Tsuji. So I think this year's final is Takeshita versus one of those two guys. Most people are probably going to say Tsuji. I desperately want them to use the G1 to make someone. So make Yuya via the G1, give him a go. And I think my final is Uemura versus
Takeshita
with Takeshita winning.
That's good booking too.
It'd be fun. And then I don't know how you get to the Dome or what you do in the Dome. You could do Zach Takeshita in the Dome, and I think it'd be fine. But I think there's a better chance that they do another fall title thing and then build up something at the Dome. The other thing is that Takeshita winning the G1 sets up in a little bit of a roundabout way. It actually sets up Takeshita versus Okada in AEW. Because AEW loves to talk about Okada as the best tournament wrestler of all time. Won the Continental Classic, all these G1s, right? And then you bring Takeshita back in, aligned with Okada, but as the G1 winner, and somehow you get to the point where you do Okada Takeshita in AEW, which I think makes the AEW side of the relationship very happy also, because then you've got this humongous match that you can run in AEW, or wherever, right? But I think somehow Takeshita winning the G1 on the AEW side of the equation actually does lead to him versus Okada, which I'm into. And also it could make Takeshita's character across the board be a little more cohesive. Because he kind of could then play the babyface in Japan. And then it also sets up Tsuji, Uemura, Oiwa, Bolton, any of those guys from that generation to say, hey, wait, we grew up here. Like, it gives them a reason to go after him because he's sort of an outsider, but he's like a domestic outsider, which is a little bit easier to play. And that generation, Umino even could then elevate themselves next year to the point where there's finally, one of those guys can go into the dome as a meaningful challenger for someone like Takeshita. So that's my take on take.
I've right now, just doing the math in my head and everything, I've got one of two finals, and I think Tsuji's winning either one of them. I've either got Tsuji versus Umino, or I got Tsuji versus Uemura.
Sure. I would love
coming out of the same block and then them finding their way back to one another in the finals.
If Tsuji, Uemura, Takeshita are the principals, if any two of those three are the principals in the G1 final, we've all won. Like it's a winning tournament.
Yeah, and back on your Takeshita, point with him going against Okada, I've heard people that we were hanging out with this weekend, speculating, what if he's a guy that wins a G1 and a C2 in the same year to really kind of give him that push going into Tokyo Dome.
Well, I have heard that I think I said this earlier, there's an effort to collaborate across the board to make Takeshita a very big deal with all three companies. Now, he's already a big deal in DDT, obviously, right? But AEW and New Japan, I believe, are from what I've heard, are being very cooperative to make him a dude with a capital D. So, and I really hope, I genuinely hope that means he's got the availability to win the G1 and do something very special in the Tokyo Dome. Because I honestly think that if they've thought it through, then it sets up a story with at least three more wrestlers right off the bat, Tsuji, Uemura, Umino, to say like, hey, like we are New Japan, right? And we've seen that work, right? It worked with Gabe Kidd, but it would work even better with domestic guys saying like, no, we built this place, or we kept the roof on this place so you could come in and take it from us. No way. Let's do this thing. So I think that's fun. I think that's good booking.
Yeah.
I'm not in love with the idea of him being either the G1 winner or in the title picture and then going and doing the C2 at the tail end of the year. Unless, well, I guess that wouldn't matter because it pretty much aligns with World Tag League, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe I'd take that back.
And he would have to eat a loss or two probably, because they're probably not going to do another undefeated C2.
I don't care about that so much. It's just more about the availability. Like I'm just thinking about how the schedules work out.
It lines up pretty perfectly with Tag League and, well,
as far as we know.
Yeah, right.
You just never know with this company.
Hey, Tag League never misses a December, not even in 2020.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to Takeshita's tournament. Again, a lot of really great matchups for him. The Shingo rematch, Zach. Who else got? ELP from last year, that great match, him and Gabe Kidd. So yeah, he's got a nice set of opponents here for him. And yeah, I have him and Tsuji locked in as my finals as of today.
And that might change after we keep talking.
Yes, I will probably change my bracket like 10 more times.
I'm going to look for your screenshot at like whatever 3 a.m.
Yes.
On July 19th. You're going to be like, I'm final.
So next up, we got to talk about Sold Out Ren Narita. His third entry, third consecutive. He went 5-4 last year.
I want him to be so much better than he is. Ah.
I was just gonna say it's put up or shut up. It's like time to either really like redeem himself or you're Great O'Con.
He might be worse than
Zach
that.
on night one.
Yeah,
He's got Zach on night one. That's a good spot.
There's history there. The whole TV title tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's also
ancient
Red Narita.
history.
What year was that? Was that 21? 22?
I think 22. Yeah, I think it was 22.
Feels like 22.
Yeah.
Who knows? What is time? How long have we been doing this? It was 22 into 23. Sometimes I forget that Ren Narita's a House of Torture guy now. And I get like silly and like think like, oh, that'll be a good match. And then I'm like, wait, no, it won't.
Nope.
So that's all. That's kind of all I have to say about him.
I've given up hope on House of Torture producing good things, so I don't even want to count on anything good coming out of this. And I think he'll just be baby evil over here. You know, he might play upset. Spoiler, he might do better than expected, but I don't think he's going to be in the play-ins or anything.
At least Evil's funny sometimes. Like, he's got good timing.
Yeah.
Narita is 2-17-3 against the rest of his block coming into this. So he's got a lot of wins to get back. The only people he has beaten in this block are Zack Sabre Jr. and El Phantasmo.
Maybe that's a play for him then, getting into the playoffs, but I don't really want to see that.
Yeah. I mean, he just gets demolished by everyone else in this block, even Yoshihashi. I mean, some of this is Young Lion stuff. I'm looking at 3 straight Yoshihashi losses in February of 2019. No, you know.
He'll beat Yoshihashi.
He will.
It's you know, it's push-up bar versus, you know, Bochan, so, you know.
Unless that's in Korakuen, and I don't even know if B-Block has a Korakuen. I don't remember. One of the blocks doesn't have a Korakuen night.
I think A does.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I know what they don't have. They don't got a Ryogoku. They don't got a...
Oh, yeah, we haven't even talked about that.
They don't have a bunch of big houses.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got a bunch of convention halls. And a
Ariake.
Humongous arena. By all accounts, very beautiful, but they're going to have to do something cool to fill it.
All right. Last guy here to talk about is 44 caliber Drilla Maloney making his debut entry into the tournament.
Better drop a lot of people on their domes.
Drilla killer.
It's a cool move. He'll be fun to watch. He's not like in the Cal Newman lane of like developing as a wrestler, but he's developing as a heavyweight. You know, I'm very curious what his match with Gabe Kidd looks like. What does that look like to do a War Dog match with the two underlings, I guess you could call them. So, I mean, you got to figure Gabe is probably the winner there, but do they just go out and battle? Which is obviously always my preferred scenario when it's a derby.
War Dogs are just going to go out and battle. That's what they do. That one they'll be battling all over but it might not be as heated as we are anticipating. I wouldn't be surprised if they like battle through the crowd and it's some gaga sort of stuff.
It's a Saturday match. It's on a Saturday card. That might mean something.
Yeah, but I could see them going. Yeah, just wanting to go all out. And again, there's a lot of great heavy hitters here for Drilla. Him and Shingo could have a great match. Him and Yoshihashi, like you mentioned, Gabe Kidd, Takeshita, Zach,
Sonata.
Sonata's not in this block.
No.
Oh, my bad.
They're going to the playoffs.
I traveled for a long time yesterday. I'm pretty tired.
Would you walk? Texas to Florida is not that hard.
It was an ordeal.
Okay.
So yeah, any thoughts on Drilla here?
I'm glad he's here.
Give him hell.
Don't think he's getting into the playoffs. All right.
I don't think I've ever popped Chris that bad on this.
I don't know why either.
I don't either.
I'm just imagining you like patting him in the stomach and be like, give him hell. And then you like walk away and he's like, the fuck are you?
Got some other G1 questions here that we can run through. Some of them we might have already answered. Let's see. Def Triangle 720 says, who do you think needs a complete change in this G1 to be considered an important star for the future?
Umino.
Yeah.
Let me count. How many wrestlers are in the G1?
20.
Mm-hmm. So 20. All of them. I mean, like, no, I think Umino's the chalk pick there. They just commit to something with him. Give him something big and bold on night one and just have him run with it through the whole tournament.
I'd also say
that's probably not happening.
Yeah. I'd also say Uemura is another guy that I would want to really see. Next question. Do you think the faction situation is going to be clear in the G1 finals show?
Hopefully, probably not.
I don't think the faction situation is going to be cleared up till next calendar year.
Yeah, they're probably just going to ride with what they have for the rest of the year.
Yep. That's how it feels to me.
Any predictions on which of the first timers will have a breakout tournament?
Well, there's only two of them.
Oiwa and Drilla.
So Oiwa would be more likely.
I'm
looking forward to seeing Oiwa's tournament.
I'll go Drilla.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna go Drilla. I think that there's like a lot of expectations on Oiwa that he might not live up to for people, and I feel like Drilla might be a sneaky pick there to have a really great tournament.
That's like the story of my life.
Sneaking in?
No, just all these expectations that you don't live up to.
Next question. Which block do you think will over deliver?
B block.
Yeah, it has to be B.
Yeah. A I feel like they're gonna be the USPS. They're gonna show up every day. B's gonna need some oomph.
Well, you said show up every day. I don't know, when Tanahashi's out after night one and they've got 8 nights of forfeits.
It'd be like when Naito went out in, what was that, 2021?
Yeah, I got
and
that.
They had to shuffle all
0 points.
We got all sorts of wacky main events.
Yeah,
because he was obviously in like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would help the A block deliver? Is it okay to say that?
You know what? It might help Tanahashi to deliver in the dome, to just like be on a forced sabbatical and like heal up and and be like, yo, are you gonna be good by 1-4? All right.
His next question: is there something you hope they improve for this G1 than last year's?
Better matches.
I thought last year's was a fine tournament. I think defining the stakes before the end of the tournament would be nice. So I hope they improve upon that. I hope someone says something in the first couple of nights of the tour that leads us to believe what they're going to be doing with the G1 championship.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, more great matches, more compelling stories, push the young guys.
Procure the stars.
Yes. Next question from Mystic Spiral 480. Who should win the G1? Who do you want to see win the G1? Who do you most not want to see the G1?
My hot take is that I do not want Yota Tsuji to win the G1. I think he's overexposed. He's been in this like high level spot for a long time now, mostly unsuccessfully. And I haven't seen a clamoring for him to be, besides the fact that he's sort of the chosen one who came in at the highest elevation compared to the rest of his generation. I don't think he has necessarily shown that they absolutely need to go with Tsuji. And everyone's pointing at Tsuji to win this. I guarantee Tsuji's going to be the most common pick to win the G1 in the pick'em pool. But I don't. He'll deliver, but he's not my guy. He hasn't shown me any reason to like really get behind him. Besides the fact that he's sort of the incumbent of that generation, and that's not reason enough for me to want him to win the G1. So that's sort of, I guess that's the only answer I have for this whole question, because I think I've talked about everything else. But generally, I do not want Tsuji to win the G1. Now, if he does, I'm not going to hate it, because at least they're doing something with one of those guys and giving them that elevation.
Yeah. Well, we're running up on time here. I know there's a bunch of other questions, but I think we'll hold on these for now. I'm going to run through. We have the first two nights of G1 coming up this weekend, and we'll wrap things up here. So night one's coming up Saturday, July 19th. We got Shingo versus Yoshihashi, Evil versus Callum Newman, Drilla versus Great Okan, Yuya versus Bolton, ELP versus Umino, Finley versus Oiwa, Takeshita versus Gabe, Sonata versus Tsuji, Sabre versus Narita in the main event of Tanahashi versus Taichi. And then night two, we got Tanahashi versus Callum Newman, Drilla versus Umino, Oiwa versus Bolton, Yoshihashi versus Ren Narita, Sonata versus Dave Finley, Shingo versus Great Okan, and Evil versus Tsuji, ELP versus Takeshita, Taichi versus Yuya in the main event of Zack Sabre Jr. versus Gabe Kidd. Some great stuff there to kick off the tournament. Chris, thanks again for joining us as usual. I don't know, I forget how many times in a row this year is for the G1 preview, but always great to have you on.
It's probably 6. I probably did it 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and now 25. So proud to keep the streak alive. Happy to talk to you guys. I really appreciate you guys having me on. G1.sportiveprowrestling.com. Everyone get your picks in. Even if you don't think you're going to win, just do it. It's fun. It gives you something to pay attention to. Gives you a way to track your thoughts before the tournament. And it gives me data to send to Chris and Walker and to post online about how people are picking. So you're sort of a part of the show. So it's a neat thing to be involved in.
My picks are going to be sent to Chris and Walker?
I send the percentage of each match. I post them all.
But I don't want to be part of that if that's what's going on here.
Well, we can eliminate you because you're part of the I guess technically you can't participate in the contest because you can't win your own prize.
I can't win my own prize.
You need
I can be gifted my own prize.
A Patreon subscription. Actually, it's in the terms and conditions that you can't. So I'm very sorry.
Just when you send this stuff to Chris and Walker, I would like to opt out of being included in.
I'll look at specifically your picks, and I'll remove that from the percentage of probably 700. I'll do that extra math on top of all the other math that I'm doing. Jeremy's looking at us like we're crazy because he's trying to go to bed, I think.
Me too. I gotta go.
All right, so everybody enter the contest, watch G1, have fun. We'll be back next week to review the first two nights. So remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign by patreon.com/KIStrongstyle. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Make sure you connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KIStrongstyle, at Social Suplex, at Jeremy L. Donovan, at YB_Jushin Liger. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Social Suplex, on the Wrestling Squared Circle Facebook group. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy, just keeping it strong style. On YouTube, we're at Social Suplex. Join our Social Suplex Discord server and interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. Check out all the shows that we have here on the network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd. All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin. Imps WW Adventure. Wrestling Art Chris Slings. Tone Talk with Ali and Leah. And the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review. And we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiba.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.